World Center of Racing plays host once again to some NASCAR racing here on VSPEED as we welcome the Moonshiners Racing League. Their clash of swords here for their first race of the season tonight, and it's going to be a good one. Daytona always decides to put on a new show, a good show, and with a brand new aero model as well, things are expected to be good, Scott.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one tonight. You're seeing that schedule up on your screen right now. We got a full season ready for you, starting tonight with the Daytona Clash, then moving into the duels, then moving into the Daytona main event. Just a couple weeks. Atlanta, COTA, Phoenix, and Vegas all up next on the schedule. All great tracks.
Yeah, and you could see that it's basically following the real NASCAR schedule as we get into our Google Earth view of the Daytona International Speedway here, obviously situated about 50 or so miles from Orlando, Florida, just on the coast of Daytona Beach itself. And you can see the track, 31 degrees of banking, 2.5 miles, things everybody knows about this legendary place. And as we can basically say it's going to be a good one here in the sky. You got some track info for it.
Yeah, we're racing at the legendary Daytona International Speedway. Opened February 22nd, 1959 in Daytona Beach, Florida, of course. 2.5 miles, banking of 31 degrees in the turns. Four-corner tri-oval. You'll know it, you'll love it. It's probably the most famous track in American racing. It's up there with Indy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And of course, you got myself, Nick Stein, Sky Shrek here in the booth. Sean Stam is our producer on the night. But like I said, the sports cars, they've had their fun for their 24 hours. Now it's time for NASCAR to take back over the World Center of Racing. And we're absolutely glad to have you here tonight as, like I said, it is the Clash, so it'll be a little bit shorter of a night, but we're still going to have a lot of fun as these guys get warmed up and raring to go for the season.
Yeah, we got a bit of a unique format tonight for the Clash. We're going 20 laps in a heat race. Top 5 drivers in that heat race will advance to a 15-lap last chance qualifier. Top 3 from that race are going to advance to the main event tonight. Right now, we're doing qualifying for that first heat race. Once that finishes, we'll get that to you for the start of the night.
Yeah, and it's going to be the top 5 drivers in that first 20-lap sprint. That'll go onto the main, and then we'll have that LCQ. It's a little bit confusing, but that's the way we interpret it here. Of course, if there's any actual changes to that, we will be the first to let you know. But as Sky said, we are in the midst of qualifying here as these guys are working to get themselves lined up for this heat race. It's right now Jamison Middlemiss, your pole sitter, with a 49.343. He's got Jared Clark to his outside as it stands with a 49.360. Of course, we still got over 7 minutes left in qualifying here, so there is a lot of time for some people to set some laps here. At the moment, only 8 cars on the board.
Yeah, right now you're seeing you're going to go on board as you take a lap around Daytona. This is such an easy track in qualifying, but it gets so much difficult when you put so many other cars out there for the race tonight. For qualifying, what you want to do, first lap, typically just run the top, build up speed. Second lap, however, you want to jump it down to the bottom. Try to get as much speed as you can. This is Jamison Middlemiss in the 16. Got the fastest lap so far, and now he's just run a couple extra laps here for practice.
Yeah, and Daytona really has changed a little bit since the last time we really saw on-track action for a lot of leagues. As just a few days ago, actually, with the latest iRacing patch, the NASCAR Cup Series cars have gotten a huge change to the aerodynamics of the cars. So it's a lot more realistic towards real life. As you know, last season and anything before this last patch, Cup cars were able to hit upwards of 208 miles an hour down the backstretch in the draft if you knew how to push. Well, that is no more, as that has been officially changed. The aero model has been slowed down a lot, so these cars are a lot slower than they used to be. And take qualifying, for example. Usually you were hitting about 183, 184, depending on how good of a run you had and if you had a tailwind or not. Now you're only hitting about 180 to 181. So solo speeds have been slowed down about 3 to 5 miles an hour, just depending on certain conditions. But in the draft is the big time effect, as these cars have been slowed down well, or actually really close to 10 miles an hour, as usually average speeds will be sitting somewhere in the range of 190 to 195 miles an hour now.
Yeah, that's going to mix up how these drivers drive. It's going to be a little harder to get big runs like you sometimes see with this cup car on iRacing. It's going to be harder to try to, make a move through the middle and blow your way past everybody to the front. You've got to be a little more calculated now. You can't just be pulling out of line, taking big shots to the front because you're not going to be able to go as fast as you used to be.
Yeah, and that's an absolutely amazing change that I feel like absolutely needed to come to the sim, because I mean, you look at iRacing races compared to real NASCAR races, and it is just a completely different world. I mean, some of these older races before the change here on iRacing, you would see 3, 4 wide, multiple rows deep, everyone just trying to find a little bit of space. Now it's going to be a little bit more realistic. I don't feel like we're going to see 3 wide racing as much now. I mean, it'll still happen, but I feel like it's going to slow the pack down a lot more than what we're used to seeing with how these packs work and how you're able to push. So it'll be interesting to see in the clash and the heats tonight to see how that affects these guys, because this is still a relatively new change. So we're going to see a lot of just, you know, experimenting, I feel like, from the pack.
Yeah, right now we got about 4 minutes left in qualifying. Fastest lap going to that 34 car of Brandon Fetter place right now. He's pretty clear of the rest of the field, but everyone behind him is really tight. Jamison Middlemiss currently second, Kevin Ruff in third, Jared Clark fourth. Fifth place is Nick King in the 12. So pretty tight pack, all things considered. I think we've got about second through 11th. They're all within a tenth of a second.
Yeah, and you look at 4th through 6th, 6/1000ths of a second separating those 3 cars. So I feel like this aero model so far has definitely proven its worth, as it seems like times are a lot closer than what we're used to seeing. Of course, Fetter Place has about a give or take about 600ths of a second over Middle Miss, but I mean, that's still kind of expected with this new aero model and people still trying to figure it out a little.
Yeah, it's definitely different from how you used to qualify. We got a car going around right here. This is the 23 machine, I believe, of Shane Wyatt, making his laps a little bit earlier. He ran 9th on the board. He's coming out of turn 4 right now, back to the start-finish line, and we can kind of watch how he went about his lap here. So going all the way down to the apron to try to make time.
Yeah, of course, Shane Wyatt in that number 23 Simrap market machine, and that has been a staple of the Shane Wyatt Racing camp, as he has pretty much been running Simrap market for about as long as I can remember, and he's pretty much had the blue and red on his car for the longest time.
Yeah, and you can see him pulling off to the track there, as we've got 2 minutes left in qualifying. Last chance for any of these drivers who haven't set laps yet to go ahead and do that before our first 20-lap heat race tonight. As mentioned, the top 5 cars are going to advance out of that. Everybody else goes to an LCQ. That one is 15 laps, and the top 3 plus your highest points finisher from last season are going to advance out of that to the 60-lap main event tonight. It'll be 27 cars in that main event. We've already got 18 locked in at the moment.
Yeah, and important to get this through as well. There's 30 cars starting for this Heat/LCQ event as well. You can see up there on the left-hand side, you can see the people that are going to be in the Heat and the LCQ as well. We got 20 right now, and I guess an extra 10 just trying to get some extra practice before the actual clash tonight. But like I said, we're taking half the field from the original Heat and then just an additional 4 more. Caution laps do not count, by the way, for the Heat and LCQ. So if we do end up getting a big wreck, no laps will be taken off the board, which leaves more time for racing and these guys to actually make some positions and figure out if they're going to be able to get into the actual clash time.
Yeah, I think the chaos here, if we get some, is going to come more from the mid-pack. It's going to come around that 5th spot. if you're running up front 1, 2, 3, you don't really need to try to make that move for the win here early in the heat race. But if you're running back 7th, 8th, that's when you're going to really go for it. And that's where we could see some of those cautions and some of that chaos come into play tonight.
Yeah, and like I said, tonight is just a big whiteboard, basically. People are still trying to figure out how this new aero model is actually going to work, especially with the fixed setup as well. I mean, people probably already know how it works with the open setups, but of course, fixed racing is a whole different beast compared to open setup racing. And we're getting ready to head into the actual start of this heat race, as qualifying has just rolled over straight into the race. 17 cars set a time here tonight out of 20 that are expected to actually start this heat race. But it's Brandon Fetterplace who is going to get that pole position. Jamison Middlemiss going to be on that outside pole with Kevin Ruff, Jared Clark, and Nick King rounding out your top 5 here tonight, as we do get our starting grid rolling across the bottom of the screen. Of course, you can see times down there, but Brandon Fetterplace putting a good chunk of time over the rest of the field. Kevin Ruff, Jared Clark in 3rd and 4th, as previously mentioned. Nick King, Darren Mills going to be your 3rd row in that 5th and 6th spot. Heading back one more row behind them to 7th and 8th is going to be Matt Mackin and Chris Spear, respectively, as those two look to get into the transfer spots for these this first set of heats, as in 9th and 10th is going to be Shane Wyatt and Johnny Shea.
And moving back outside the top 10 for this heat race tonight, you're going to have 11th place Victor Pfluger in the 43, Nick Atwood 12th in the 91. Corey Moore will roll off on the inside of row 7, 13th. Colt Blasowski on the outside in the 8. Row 8 is going to be Ryan Huff in the 24, Nigel Christensen on his outside in 16th. 17th tonight, Preston Purrier in the 99, Aaron Matthews 18th in the 5. And last 2 cars on your field tonight will be Shane Davis in the 79, Kenny Capola in the 77.
Yeah, and unsure if those last 2 are actually going to start the heat tonight, as it doesn't look like they are. Unsure, but it looks like for right now we're going to have 18 starting this heat race to work their way into the clash. And if you're anywhere below 8th place right now, you're already starting to sweat a little bit, as you got a lot of work to do to get in, not only into that top 5 to transfer from the heat, but the 7th through 8th, or excuse me, 6th through 8th spots to get in through the LCQ.
Yeah, and I think we're going to really see some aggressive driving out of those cars who are starting a little further back, like Purrier starting in 17th right now. He's got to find a way to the front. He needs to get around 12 cars to do it. I'd expect to see some aggression very early from some of these guys who are sitting maybe outside the top 10 and are looking to move up. Drivers like Blazkowski, Huff, Christensen, everybody's going to need to get up to the field.
Yeah, and it's a really tight field as well. I mean, you look at times from 1st to 17th. It was a 280 for Fetterplace. You go down to Purrier, down in 17th spot, which was the last car to set a time in qualifying. He sets a 6:10, so not even 0.4 of a second between the majority of your field that has set times here. So this is going to be a very tight race for these guys here tonight in what is kind of a basically a warm-up race for the duels and the 500, or excuse me, the 300 next week and the week after. So yeah, these guys definitely getting this warm-up in is going to be a very big thing.
Yeah, for sure. We're pacing down the back straight away right now. These guys are getting ready to roll. Once again, top 5 are going to advance out of this straight to the main. From there, everybody else goes to the LCQ, and only 3 are going to make it out of the LCQ. So it's going to be really important to get yourself up to the front of the field quickly here. In that top 5 positions to start, it's going to be Brandon Fetterplace, Jamison Middlemiss, Kevin Ruff, Jared Clark, and Nick King. Those are the 5 currently in those spots, but you've got guys a little further back like Darren Mills and Matt Mackin who are going to be knocking on the door to get up there pretty quickly.
Yeah, Fetterplace, your pole sitter here tonight as they work their way off of 4. Cincinnati, Ohio native in that number 34 Toyota Camry, going to be leading this field to the green flag to get this season of the Moonshiners Racing League going on a high note here as the pace car makes that hard left turn onto pit road, and they enter the Geico restart zone. Green flag is in the air on the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series season as we get the first heat of Clash Night going as Feder Place and a lot of people behind him formed up on that inside line.
Yeah, looking at the ticker, that shows 35 laps. That's because we're going to have a kind of a unique setup to this race. We're going to run 20 laps. Everybody in this session is going to pull off, and then the LCQ drivers are going to keep going after that for another 15 laps. So that's how we're going to run this here tonight. Feder Place holding on out front right now, but you're seeing cars trying to drop down to that inside. That line has really gotten away, and it's allowed Mackin in that 01 to put himself up into a transfer spot there in 5th.
Yeah, that is one thing I've already noticed that's a lot different is that outside line went nowhere quickly. We're used to that outside line being the overpowered line when it comes to plate racing, especially here at Daytona. But I guess now with this new aero model, that's no more, which is a lot more realistic, I feel like.
Yeah, previously you could really just run the wall and it would work well for you. Bit different now as everybody has already jumped to get down to the bottom. Right now, Shane Wyatt, Victor Fluger, first 2 cars out of those transfer spots running 6th and 7th. Everyone, though, is in a line with the exception of those 2 running alone at the back. And they're both kind of in a precarious position back there. That's Chris Spear in the 7, Darren Mills in the 2. Those cars started 6th and 8th respectively. They're already back well outside the top 10.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a little bit of just this field riding for a few laps, just trying to get closer to that lap 20 mark, where I feel like they're starting to say, okay, let's just ride, get to lap, I don't know, 15 or so. Then we start racing for these transfer spots, which is really smart, I feel like. I feel like you really need to survive these first 15 or so laps, then worry about racing. So seems like that's what the entire field is doing as we got ourselves a nice little train going through turns 3 and 4 now.
Yeah, but I guarantee you those cars who are back in 9th, 10th, 11th, they really would rather not ride. They'd rather be getting up to that outside trying to make moves for position. The issue is, right now, if you're back there running 9th, you try to get to the outside, no one's going to follow you and you're going to go straight to the back of the field. Kind of a chess game here. You got to find somebody who's willing to take that chance, jump up to the outside, and try to make a run with you, even if that is more difficult with the new aero package.
Yeah, it's my old favorite saying for every plate race I commentate. It's a 200-mile-an-hour game of chess. Well, in this case, it's a 195-mile-an-hour game of chess, but it still gets the point across for people to be able to generate a run. As used to old aero model, you were able to get a pretty darn good run going with just 3 cars. Now it's going to take 4 or 5, maybe even run started. So plate racing just got a lot more interesting, I feel like.
For sure. Everybody's still sitting down on that inside. No one's jumped out yet. Middle miss started 2nd all the way back to 10th. There's a little bit of a gap behind Courier, not quite closing up to the here over the next couple laps.
Yeah, Purrier in that 99. I mean, oh, it looks like we got a little bit of shuffling now as some people look like they're thought about they end up getting back in line with that inside line, and they're going to lose a little bit of time now as it takes a lot longer for the draft to generate a run now. So no more, gone are the days of being able to generate a run, generate a massive run. Now you're actually going to have to sit behind someone for a little bit, get the draft built up, and now you can start to build a run. As we see Chris Spear in that 7, he's doing pretty much anything he can right now. It's just not going well.
No, it isn't right now. Everybody's still single file back here at a turn 2. Right in that inside line for the time being. No one's been willing to make that move to the outside yet. Because if you do, you might get caught out like that 2-car Mills and go all the way to the rear of the field. Near contact there between 70 and the 2. And some of these guys further back are trying to make it happen on the top. It's just not really working for them right now.
Yeah, Darren Mills and Chris Spear almost got into each other there going down into turn number 3. Spear still holding that. Oh, a little bit of contact right behind them. Johnny Shade and Nicholas Atwood. almost getting into each other.
Yeah, they're all over the place in the back of the field, and I mean, they might lose the draft here soon if they don't get this thing tightened up. They're gonna hold on, but that racing really set those 4 cars at the back through the field, and we've got a car out of the session here right now. That's the 23 of Shane Wyatt having some connection issues.
Ryan Huff and company looking like they're trying to get an outside line to form here. They're not really organized. He's got Jamison Middlemiss, who started on your outside pole, by the way. Right behind him as a little bit of help behind them. You got Purrier, Bleskowski, and Nigel Christensen. But they're also in danger of losing this little lead pack here, which involves Corey Moore and further up. So 7th on up is this lead pack. And you got Ryan Huff, Jamison Middlemiss trying to catch back up to this lead draft to make it a 9-car pack. As we're almost wrecking in the back, Purrier almost sideways off of 2 and manages to save it.
Man, there's been some action further back here. Well, the cars at the front have been able to stay single file. These cars a little further back, Blazkowski, Christensen, Purrier, they have been absolutely going at it. And the problem now for this pack about 12th on back is they have lost the draft of the lead group. It's going to take a caution for them to get back up there because Purrier is 1.7 back of Christensen right now.
And remember, the only guaranteed caution these guys get is at lap 20 to send the top 5 from this first heat race to the main event. So unless they're able to get caught back up, as they're actually wrecking further back, you got a car sideways. It was Chris Spear who got turned off the nose. I think that was the 49 of Johnny Shade. It was.
Wow, so some bad blood a little further back there. No caution because the 7 car spun down onto the apron and stayed out of the way. We're going to get a VSPEED replay on that one. See what happened to the 7 here. He's being pushed by that 45 car. And yeah, just goes wrong for him.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit behind, as it was coming off of 2, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, big wreck here as we go back to live. Matt Mackin, and it looks like the 43 of Victor Pfluger got a little bit out of sorts racing in the middle of the lead pack. And it looks like it was only those 2 involved, as Mackin and Pfluger took a lot of hard hits there.
Yeah, Mackin tried to jump a little bit out to the top. Looked like he maybe just got swirly into the corner. Tried to cut back down in front of the 43 of Pfluger. It just wasn't quite clear because Pfluger kept coming, both of them, hard into the outside wall.
It looks like that's going to be a night ender for both of them, as Victor Pfluger has a broken right front toe link and is struggling to get back to pit lane. And I believe Matt Mackin has already towed. So it looks like that will be day done for those 2.
Definitely
actually,
not
no,
what
Mackin
they
did
want.
not tow. Mackin is still running, albeit with a lot of damage on that 0-1.
You don't get any fast repairs either here, which is going to be a problem for these 2. If they can't get it fixed and get it back out for the LCQ, they might be out of the race here.
Yeah, more than likely that 43 is done. Like I said, that's a broken right front toe link, which is at minimum, I believe, 8 minutes worth of repairs. So that will, since they're under caution, he's not going to lose as much time. If it would have stayed green, he was looking at losing upwards of 9 or 10 laps.
Yeah, we're still trying to get that replay pulled up for you here. We're trying to find it on the racetrack. This is a little further up.
Ooh.
There you go. You can see it in the background right there. That car goes hard into the outside wall. That would have been... yeah, it was the 43 of Pfluger who was involved in that pretty heavily there. Along with one other race car.
The 01 of Matt Mackin was the other one.
Yeah, it was the 01 of Matt Mackin. It was those 2.
And you can see the 43 of Pfluger riding that outside wall here, already with that toe link damage, which was suffered from a pretty hard hit to the outside wall. And Yeah, that car more than likely done for the night. But back up front, still Brandon Fetterplace, your leader. He's got Kevin Ruff behind him, Nick King, Jared Clark, and Matt Mackin still being scored in the 5th spot, but he is on pit road currently.
Yeah, that's going to update once we get these laps counting again. Right now, as mentioned earlier, caution laps do not count in the heat races, so we're stuck on lap 10. We're still pacing around. Laps will not count, and those guys will not officially lose spots until we head back under green here to take the flag for lap 11.
Yeah, that's the good thing for Puryear is we can finally get a look at the replay here. Mackin looks like he got loose in the middle of 1 and 2. Tried to get back down in front of the 43 of Pfluger. Just wasn't able to. Looks like Matt Mackin really largely got away with that.
It was this little bit of contact here that sent Pfluger back up into the outside wall, and that was what did the worst of the damage to that 43 car. And he's definitely going to have some problems here if he can't get that fixed in time for the LCQ.
Yeah, it is going to be very tough for him to be able to advance from here. As we have mentioned, caution laps not counting, so Pfluger will not lose any laps under caution. His problem starts when the field gets back to green flag racing, as that is when he's going to start losing time to the field. So Pfluger is just praying for that damage to finish, getting itself repaired so he can get back out on track. But like I said, with a broken front toe link, that's going to take at minimum 8 minutes. So does not look like that Pfluger is going to be able to get back out on track as we're already 1 to green.
Yeah, we've got the pace car out, or the lights on the pace car are out. So everybody's going to get stacked up side by side. The question on this restart, does the outside fire off better than they did last time? We saw in the last restart, the outside lane was kind of completely hopeless there. They dropped back like a stone. Can those guys on the top, that's going to be Kevin Ruff first, Jared Clark second, Ryan Huff third on the top. Can those guys stay up there, keep fighting for the lead, or are they going to have to either, 1, pull into the inside lane, or 2, fall to the back of the field?
Yeah, based on that first restart, do not be surprised if they fall off, but we'll go ahead and reset your field real quick as we come to the green flag. Brandon Fetterplace still your leader. Kevin Ruff going to be restarting to his outside. In 3rd place, Jared Clark. Nick King in that 4th spot. Actually, no, it's Jared Clark on the outside. That's my apologies. Nick King is on the inside. Behind them is going to be Corey Moore with, I believe that is Ryan Huff in the 24 to his outside. Sitting back in that 7th spot is going to be Jamison Middlemiss, your outside pole sitter. It's going to be Colt Blaskowski to his inside. Nigel Christensen is going to be right behind him, Preston Puryear, and that is going to be the majority of your top 10 there as they come back to green.
Yeah, some of those guys back there like Blaskowski, Middlemiss, Nigel Christensen even, just outside those top 5 positions, they are going to be going for it, trying to get into that transfer spot as the pace car is off this time.
All right, here we go. 10 to go here in the heat race. Fetterplace on that inside line. He's going to take the green flag here. It's going to be back out in the air, and we are back to full speed racing here for the heat race for the Daytona Clash for the Moonshiners Racing League. And it looks like that outside line did get a lot better of a start. They are going to lose their leader in Kevin Ruff, who's going to take it down to the inside. So that'll be Jared Clark in the 21 with the 24 of Ryan Huff right behind him as the only real people on that outside line until you get back to Preston Puryear in that 99 Excite batteries machine, giving a little bit of a throwback to Jeff Burton, actually.
Yeah, that outside lane just really not working at all in this heat race. If you want to make any time, you've got to be on the bottom. You saw how quick Kevin Ruff was willing to jump down there. Can't say the same about Jared Clark, who restarted 4th. He's already fallen back through the field. He's driving back in 8th right now. Ryan Huff restarted 6th, currently in 10th. That inside line is the spot to be, and the cars who are in it, Nick King, Corey Moore, Jamison Middlemiss, are now in a great position here with 9 to go.
Jamison Middlemiss was your outside pole sitter, as I've said a couple of times. He fell down to about 11th place through that first run, as now we got some movement for the lead here as Kevin Ruff is going to take it to the outside with the 12 of Nick King. Jamison Middlemiss is going to follow him on that outside line. It looks like they're all three going to get clear of that 34 of Feder Place.
Not quite for Middlemiss, but the top two are there. That outside line's getting more cars than the inside line. Can they fight them off on the top? Hasn't worked yet all race, but it seems to be working pretty all right now for Kevin Ruff and Nick King, the two cars at the front of the field. Jamison Middlemiss is starting to get clear, but he's going to stay on the top, riding behind the 14 and the 12 as Brandon Feder Place tries to get some speed back on the bottom, and he will.
Oh, we're going to be 3 wide. Christensen's around.
They're wrecking in the back.
Of Nick King, or excuse me, that wasn't Nick King. That's Jared Clark sideways.
Yeah, we went 3 wide there back in the midfield. Ryan Huff tried to split the middle, and it all went wrong. Nigel Christensen sideways into the fence. About a 5 or 6 car accident there further back. Jared Clark, heavy damage. We'll show you the VSPEED replay here once we can get that to you.
Yeah, it looks like, I believe it was Ryan Huff getting ping-ponged through the middle. 3 wide. Yeah, it was Ryan Huff. And just nothing anyone could have done there. As Preston Purrier was involved, Nigel Christensen, Ryan Huff has a hard hit to the inside wall. Jared Clark got, I believe, the worst of that, as he got hit 3 or 4 times by 3 or 4 different people.
Yeah, Blaze Kowski took a pretty big knock as well there, kind of T-boning Clark a little bit. I guess Clark T-boning the side of him a little bit there. A lot of cars taking some damage in that. That's some more cars, and we're going to need to fix their stuff before we go into the LCQ tonight.
Yeah, at the last scoring loop, Kevin Ruff was considered your leader, but again, involved in that wreck, the 21 of Jared Clark, and I believe it was Nigel Christensen and the 20 were ping-ponging the 24 of Ryan Huff as they were going 3 wide coming off of turn number 2. And that just led to a 4-car incident in which Ryan Huff hit the inside wall pretty hard.
Yeah, pretty big damage for Chris Spears as well. He was running at the back of the field and pretty much T-boned the 24 as that thing came across the racetrack. A lot of damage up there in that mid-pack, and a lot of cars who might be out of contention in this heat race if they can't get that fixed in time for the LCQ.
Yeah, you saw it there on the replay. The 21 got a little bit loose coming down off the banking of turn number 2. Gets into Ryan Huff, which sends Huff down into Nigel Christensen in the 20 machine, which then ping-pongs Huff between the 21 and the 20. Leading to that entire incident. So that's how quickly things can turn on its head here at Daytona.
For sure. It's so easy for this big one to happen. You saw it right there. Even in a heat race where these drivers aren't really racing for any prizes yet, this is just to try to get into the main event. You're seeing the aggression, the fight in these drivers come out, and you've already seen a couple accidents today as a result of that.
Yeah, and if things weren't already crazy, expect them to get a lot crazier, as we're going to have a restart with 7 to go, which is basically going to mean an all-out dash towards the finish. So, or to the finish of this heat at least. But remember, there will be a caution at lap 20, which will be considered the checkered flag of the heat race, in which the top 5 at lap 20 will be sent into the main event as the top 5 qualifiers from the heat race. And then once we go back green on lap 21, that is going to be the 15-lap last chance qualifier for anyone left in the field. And out of that, the top 3 are going to make it for sure. And that'll send 8 total into the actual clash itself.
Yeah, plus that one extra starter that's going to be the highest points finisher from last season, who's not going to be able to advance through this race. Don't know exactly who that would be yet, but we'll figure that out as the night develops. For now, as we're pacing, it's Kevin Ruff out front, Nick King in second, Middlemiss third, Feder Place fourth, Clark fifth. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back here live on VSPEED.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we welcome you back to the Virtual World Center of Racing as we are working our way through the heat before the clash here tonight on VSPEED, as we are lap 13 out of 20 for the heat and then another 15 for the LCQ. So 7 laps from now we will get a caution that will be considered the checkered flag for the heat race, in which the top 5 of this will go into the main event. But we're coming back to our restart here at Daytona International Speedway. Kevin Ruff and the number 12 of Nick King on your front row. Green flag back out in the air as Kevin Ruff gonna get it on early here, and now he's gonna leave a decision for the 12 of Nick King, who's automatically gonna hop down into that inside line. And just like we saw on that initial start, that entire outside line gone within a split second.
Yeah, Fetter Place is going to need to get down, but he can't do it yet. He's still stuck up there on the top. He's going to drop all the way back outside the top 5, and he'll pull back down in front of the 91 and Nicholas Atwood. So he'll be able to get back in the line, but he's going to get in the line outside of the top 5. We've got 7 to go here in this heat race. It's go time for those cars further back. Courier, Shade, Mills, Clark. Now is the time to start making moves.
Yes, we got 6 laps to go here in the heat race. Better place, your pole sitter sitting in that 6th spot, 1 outside the transfer. But his outside pole sitter of this original start, Jamison Middlemiss, sitting up in a transfer spot in that 3rd place. In that number 16 machine, moves thinking about being made as here comes Fetter Place to the outside. He's going to have Middlemiss think about going to the outside, but he's going to stick with that inside line. And Fetter Place now no hold for that 34 machine. He is going to go backwards and quickly.
Yeah, not great for him. He needs someone to get up there and be the help. Oh, big move underneath there. Whoa. Nearly some drama. Colt Blazkowski tried to get a move going to the inside. Corey Moore had to back out last second. He'll stay in 5th for now, but those cars behind him, like, there.
Better Place ended up getting down into that 9th spot, so he's got more work. 5 laps to go here in the heat race. Just crossed the start lap number 16 here at Daytona International Speedway. Working our way through turns 1 and 2. A little bit of a train on this bottom line. A little bit like we saw to start this race, as some people look as if they're trying to generate a...
Nick King looks to the outside. Whoa, everybody's fanning out a little further back. That's Better Place on the top. Dropping to the very back of the field there is Preston Purrier. He's going to lose the draft back there. It's chaos, but we get it straightened out back single file. Fetter Place is going to work into line in 9th there, and Mills back in 10th, and Mills really wants to go. He just can't find anybody to go with him back there in 10th.
Yeah, that's the hard part about Daytona now, is you have to have people to work with in order to generate any sort of run. And it just does not look like Fetter Place has the friends needed to be able to start a run. Is actually now further back. We're going to be 3 wide for just a moment as Fetter Place has some help on this outside line. He tried to pick up Nigel Christensen, but wasn't able to get up in front. Now 4th place pulls out, 5th place pulls out, as it's going to be the 8 of Colt Blazkowski and the 91 of Nicholas Atwood now jumping up in front of that outside line.
Yeah, we're going side by side. It's time to go. 3 to go in this heat race. Once we hit the line, all bets are off. You got to be in the top 5 to advance. We're going 3 wide through the middle. That's Blazkowski trying to split the difference with Moore on the bottom.
Bleskowski in that number 8 machine. He's going to take it to the inside of the number 12 of Nick King for the second spot. There's still 3 wide through turns 2. Coming down the backstretch, we are still 3 wide. MULLINS is the big loser now as he gets shoved up into the wall on the back straightaway. He is now out of a transfer spot in that number 16, but he's fighting back on the outside as he's got the draft of Nicholas Atwood. Atwood takes it to the bottom.
Still in the middle right there. That's Feder placing the 34, trying to get something going. He'll be able to jump back up to the top there. He's third car on the outside, puts him 6th at the minute. But on the bottom, it's 1, 2, 3. Nicholas Atwood, Colt Bleskowski, Corey Moore getting the advantage over the rest of the field. 2 to go in this heat race. It is still anybody's game.
And they're 3 wide once again further back in the field. Matt Mackin, the 21 of Jared Clark, and Jamison MULLINS were 3 wide for just a moment. They've calmed it down in the back, but now we got a 2-car breakaway up front. Nicholas Atwood and Colt Bleskowski on a 2-car tandem on that inside line. Coming off of turn number 4, they're going to be coming to the white flag here in this heat race. It all comes down to this for the final transfer spot, as right now it's Nick King in the number 12 with that transfer place. Will it be him here in 2.5 miles time as that outside line is really formed up? They've got a huge run. Bleskowski goes up to block the run. Feder Place runs into the back of Nick King in the number 12. Bleskowski takes the lead on the outside line. He's got Nicholas Atwood on the bottom. Christensen, Corey Moore, and Bleskowski running away with it though down the back straightaway, as who's going to make the move out of these 5 cars for the win of this first heat? Bleskowski leads it into turn number 3. Moore right behind him. Christensen thought about making a move to the inside. He's going to stick in just a little bit longer, as here comes Kevin Ruff and Nick King in 4th and 5th place. Nobody's going to make a move. Is coming through the tri-oval. It is going to be Colt Bleskowski taking the heat race.
And following up from there is going to be Corey Moore, Nigel Christensen, Kevin Ruff, and Nick King. Your 5 cars going through the feature here tonight. Everybody else is going to go to the LCQ. So what we're going to do now is we've got a caution out. We're going to stop the race. The 5 cars that have advanced through the heat race are going to come down to the pits. They're done for the session until we start the A main. The rest of the cars who did not advance in that top 5 will stay out on track, and they're going to lock in, get ready for our LCQ here in just a couple laps.
Just a reminder, Colt Bleskowski, Corey Moore, Nigel Christensen, Kevin Ruff, and Nick King go on to the main Clash event here in about an hour's time. But now we got a 15-lap sprint for the LCQ, where it's going to be Nicholas Atwood, your pole sitter, Brandon Feder Place in that 2nd transfer spot, and Darren Mills is going to be in that 3rd transfer spot, and it's going to be up to the rest of the field to be able to fight it out for the final 3 transfer spots. So your LCQ field is going to be Nicholas Atwood, Brandon Feder Place, Darren Mills, Johnny Shade, Jamison MULLINS, Chris Spear, Jared Clark, Preston Purrier, and Matt Mackin are going to be your cars on the track. Also Shane Wyatt thrown in there as well.
Yeah, everybody's getting ready to go here. The LCQ is getting ready. These cars are going to get formed up. I'm interested in seeing what happens with some of these cars who are laps down, who are fixing damage. Huff and Fluger still in the pits, but it's Shane Wyatt, Matt Mackin back out on the racetrack. They've got their cars fixed. They're going to try to get something done in the LCQ. It's going to be 10 cars out on the racetrack at the minute, and we will see which of those 10 is going to make the feature. It's going to be 3 of them tonight.
Yeah, 3 cars, and then of course the highest points finisher that doesn't transfer going to be moving into the main Clash event, as we are lined up under caution. Now we get a little bit of a chance to breathe after that finish to the heat race here tonight, but as we said, 15 laps to determine the final 3 spots that transfer in through the transfer spots, and then that one guy who's the highest finisher in points will be transferring as well, as it looks like we may have some pit stops here.
It looks like we might. I wouldn't be surprised if drivers come down, top off on fuel here to make sure that they're good because we ran a couple extra laps there under caution. So come down, make sure you got enough fuel for the next 15, and you'll be good to go for the rest of the night.
Shane Wyatt, the only one staying out here, but he is 3 laps down in that number 23 after having a little bit of connections issues earlier on in the race. He is 2 laps down now, as it looks like he will get the wave around to be able to come down and pit this time by. Matt Mackin still a lap down as well in the 0-1 after getting turned earlier on in this race, that 0-1, trying to recover and maybe get a transfer spot here, but it is looking unlikely for the 0-1 camp.
Yeah, not in a great shape for it right now. Atwood came down fuel only. Feder place, looks like he took 2. I think everyone else in the field has taken 4 tires. We're getting some wave arounds right now going. Matt Mackin will be back on the lead lap. Shane Wyatt is going to go to, I believe, 1 lap down. We'll see if they give him another wave around to get back on the lead lap.
They should give him the extra wave around to get him back in this race, as it's not really something he could have controlled, is what's led to him being 3 laps down here. But as we said, field resetting themselves. Here comes Matt Mackin around the field to take his lap back in the 0-1, but the rest of the field through turns 3 and 4 right now. I think we're going to be coming either to 2 to green or 1 to green this time by. We'll see if the pace car kills off the lights here. But as I said, we're going to be getting this LCQ start.
Yeah, drivers still making their way back, you know, kind of around the pace car, getting back in the line here as we get everybody set up. As mentioned, 15 laps in this LCQ. Caution laps still do not count. We have the top 10 cars that are out here right now. It's Atwood, Feder Place, Shade, Mills, Middlemiss, Clark, Puryear, Spear, Mackin, and it will be Shane Wyatt, although I believe he is having some more connection issues, some PBD on that 23 car here tonight. But these cars are all still out on the racetrack. Top 3 on the track after this race are going to go straight to the feature, along with 1 car, the highest points finisher from last season, who does not make it on position.
Yeah, and if the race were to end right now, it would obviously be Atwood, Feder Place, and Darren Mills in the number 2, I believe. Actually, no, it would be the 45 of Johnny Shade in that final transfer spot. But like I said, 15 laps is a very long time here at Daytona, so no idea if it's going to be that exact same order coming to the finish of this race, and I guarantee you it probably will not, as we're going to have 10 cars on track to finish this one off.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting race. I think we're going to see what we saw in that first heat race for maybe the first 8 or 9 laps here. You're going to see cars running single file, not really pushing too hard, just trying to make sure that they can get around. But once you hit about 6, 7, 8 to go, that's when these guys are going to have to make moves to the front. If you're back running 6th, 7th, that's going to be a car right now like Puryear, who's kind of a little further back, Chris Spear as well. You got to get it going. We put the lights on the pace car out, so we're going to get back going. We will not have Shane Wyatt with us. He is continuing to have internet issues. So it'll be 9 cars coming to the feature, or coming to the green flag for the LCQ to try to make it into the feature.
Yeah, it's going to be Nicholas Atwood in that number 91 machine leading this field to the green flag of the LCQ. And he's got the entire field of about 9 cars behind him for this LCQ, as the pace car going to pull off towards the safety of pit road. It's going to be in the hands of Nicholas Atwood in the number 91. Green flag out in the air here at Daytona for the LCQ. 3 cars are going to move on. Who will it be, as Nicholas Atwood has a little bit of help from Johnny Shade behind him, and that outside line disappears again.
Once again, it's Brandon Federplace being hung out to dry on the top as everybody else quickly gets down to the bottom. Darren Mills included, started on the outside, thought better of it, got straight to the bottom. He's having some internet issues there as well, but he's staying in the session, and he's the 3rd car out of 3 that are going to make it through. Shade and Atwood, the other 2 drivers in transfer spots right now.
Scottsville, Kentucky's own Nicholas Atwood leading the field through turns 3 and 4 on lap number 1 of this LCQ. And it is a single file train behind Matt Mackin and Brandon Fetterplace rounding out this little train of 9 cars, all vying for 3 transfer spots. 6 will get cut out, and then of course the 1 gets added for the highest points finisher. We'll have to see who that will be, and that'll be determined at a later time before the clash begins. But off of turn number 2, still single file, as here comes the run a little bit further back in the field, as it looks like Jamison Middlemiss thought about trying to get a run, and he had help from Purrier and a couple others as well. But that run died off pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's going to need a little more help to get it going. Jared Clark is kind of in no man's land. He's trying to get the draft off of those 3 cars in front of him so he can get back up there to try to contend for this podium spot that he needs. But right now, still hanging a little further back, and it's going to be a bit of a lame duck situation because Middlemiss is going to go to the top, and coming with him is going to be Preston Purrier. We'll see if these two are able to get around Jared Clark. Doesn't look like it, though. Fetterplace is going to stay with that 21 on the bottom, and the inside lane will prevail. 16.99 to the back of the field.
Yeah, Purrier and Middlemiss just not able to get it going there. They just don't have the help that you're going to need now with this new aero model that these Cup cars have. So not able to make the 2-car runs like you used to, and it looks like Purrier is going to lose the draft here. Middlemiss is just barely going to keep with him, but Purrier, for all intents and purposes, looks like he will not be making it into the main clash.
Yeah, he's lost that draft. He'll be in trouble, barring a caution here, which could happen. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with 10 to go still in this race. Everybody's calm right now, but we know that's going to change as we head to the end. Right now, 3 cars that would get in: Atwood, Johnny Shade, and Darren Mills.
Yeah, and it's a lot harder to race with this little cars right now. Of course, you only have the 8 cars in this main pack right now, so it is going to be a lot harder to not only generate runs, but just to race in general, because you just don't have the power that you would have in a full field of 30 cars. So racing going to be very difficult for these guys, but Fetterplace is in that 4th spot right now. He was your pole sitter for the heat race, but right now sitting just outside of that transfer spot. We're going to have to see what that 34 decides to do. Actually, he's in 5th place, excuse me, so he is 2 off of the transfer spot.
Yeah, he's going to need to get something going, and he's going to need some help in order to do it. Right now, the 21 of Clark seems pretty content to just ride the bottom there in 4th. But some of these guys a little further back, Fetterplace, Middlemiss, have shown a willingness to try that top line. The issue is they need someone to go with them. No one in this pack really seems to want to make that jump to the outside right now. Under 5 to go, I think it'll be a different story, but for the time being, everybody is content to wind down the laps running this bottom.
Yeah, and that's a smart little strategy there, just to avoid wrecking your car in this race. There is no need to get aggressive when you could just ride for the next few laps and then worry about racing. So not a lot of people wanting to make any moves right now, which I can tell is just, it is, Fetterplace is just struggling right now as he wants to go to that outside. You can tell that 34 wants to be on that outside line, but nobody wants to go with him.
Yeah, he's just stuck back there. I mean, we're going to hit 8 to go this time as we cross the line. Everybody's still in this, but Purrier under about 3/4 of a second here, all riding the bottom. Someone's going to have to make the move at some point. I don't think any car other than maybe Jamison Middlemiss wants to be the one to actually make the first move. You kind of want somebody else to take the risk, and then you know you can follow him up there in case it doesn't work. If you're the first car out, it's a very real shot that no one will go with you, and you'll just be stuck in free fall.
Oh, pit run here for the 16 of Jamison Middlemiss, as he got a big run on the number 7 of Chris Spear. Wasn't able to do anything, but he almost made contact with that number 7.
For sure. He's going to stay at the back, but he's been making more of those moves. He's been trying to get those runs to send it up to the top. The only issue is for him to make these work, he needs anybody in front of him to be willing to go with him, and nobody is. So for now, it's just ride, you know, drop back of the 7, get your slingshot, and then send it to the outside, and hopefully one of these times someone will decide to work with you.
Getting a little bit hairy here further back in the field as the 21 of Jared Clark and Brandon Fetterplace almost had a little bit of an incident there down the back straightaway. Fetterplace tried to push the 21 of Jared Clark, but I guess misaligned it and almost turned that 21.
Yeah, right now, those two cars are trying to run the top, but it's not quite working. The only thing it's really doing is putting the 01 of Mackin a little further back on the inside, but he'll be able to close it back up. Spear really needs to use that side draft if he wants to get anything going, but he can't do it right now. He's stuck back there running side by side with Mackin. Not really able to get clear, but not exactly dropping behind him either.
Yeah, that outside line needs one more car, but nobody seems to want to be that third car and give up their track position. As, I mean, Mackin now going up to side draft that outside line a little bit. And it looks like the 16 of Middle Miss is going to try to do it solo now, further back as he gets left by Chris Spear. And these guys are very quickly losing the draft.
Oh, for sure. The more they fight, the more they're going to lose the draft. This gap is at 0.7 of a second because of how intense the side draft is. Middle Miss is going to need to get down quickly. I think Spear might still be able to get back up, but they need to get together. They need to get moving. Otherwise, well, I think Spear is going to lose the draft. He's fallen outside of a second.
Yeah,
they might be in trouble here with 5 to go.
Yeah, all 3 of them have lost the draft, so now it is a 5-car race for 3 spots that transfer into the clash. And right now, your transfer spots are going to be Nicholas Atwood, Johnny Shade, and Darren Mills. But the 21 of Jared Clark and Brandon Fetterplace in that 34 have something to say about that. We'll see if they can get up into those top 3 transfer spots.
Yeah, with 4 to go, the only problem for them might be the lack of help from behind. If you're one of these top 3 cars, Atwood, Shade, Mills, you don't really have any incentive to jump to the top and try to make a crazy move because you're sitting pretty on the inside line. The 21 and the 34 are going to need to make something on their own, and we've seen at the back of the field just how difficult it can be to get yourself up there. So they're going to need to find some way to make this move. Otherwise, they might be out of luck here coming down to 3 to go.
Just took 3 to go here at Daytona in the last chance qualifier for tonight's clash. And right now, just a 5-car race as everybody else has lost the draft.
They are struggling right now behind them. Spear, Mackin, Middle Miss, all looking to be on the outside, barring a late yellow. For now, it's these 3 cars up front looking to try to keep it where they are. Somebody is taking the chicane back there. I believe that is Mackin channeling his inner Rolex 24 driver as they continue to race up front for position. Mackin will pull it off, thinking he's probably done for the night, unless we get a caution with 2 to go.
2 laps to go here at Daytona. Still Atwood leading this 5-car race for the transfer spots. Johnny Shade in that 2nd spot. Darren Mills in that final transfer spot in the number 2 machine. But Jared Clark and Fetterplace right behind him, looking to make a move here, coming down to the finish as they head down the backstretch.
Everybody's still single file, 2 to go, and those top 3 are pushing hard. They want to stick together. None of them wants to be the one to jump up to the top because they're all happy where they are. It might be a last-second run for Clark and Fetterplace. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna have to time it perfectly as we hit the white flag.
White flag in the air at Daytona, brought to you by, sorry about that. 1 to go, brought to you by League Gaming as Nicholas Atwood through turns 1 and 2. Johnny Shade, Darren Mills in those final 2 transfer spots. Jared Clark and Brandon Fetterplace are trying to build up a run, though, from the 4th and 5th spots. Here comes the 21 of Jared Clark to the outside. He's got Fetterplace for help. Does Atwood go up to block, as it looks like that run is going to run out here for the 21 of Jared Clark. They did get the 2 of Darren Mills off the back end of this lead pack, but coming out of turn number 4, it's going to be Nicholas Atwood and Johnny Shade taking the 2 transfer spots, and Jared Clark is going to take the final transfer spot as we finish the LCQ here at Daytona.
Man, they were really waiting until the last second to try to launch that jump to the top to get around him. We saw earlier on how quickly you can lose time there with that side draft. That is exactly what happened to the 2 of Mills. He lost the side draft, lost the regular draft, and that was what allowed the 21 to get around him at the last second.
Yeah, just to recap, Nicholas Atwood, Johnny Shade, and Jared Clark are your confirmed transfers into the Clash. There will be one more transfer, though, out of the people that did not finish inside a transfer spot, and that'll be the highest points finisher that did not transfer. But your final results for the LCQ, Nicholas Atwood wins it, Johnny Shade, Jared Clark transfer, Brandon Feder place in 4th, Darren Mills, Chris Spear round out your 5th and 6th spots, Jamison Middlemiss in 7th, and Preston Purrier finishes in the 8th spot. Matt Mackin finishes 2 laps down.
Yeah, now these drivers are going to get ready for the A main event tonight. We're going to get everybody moved over to a new session, and then we will get ready.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com. Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we welcome you back to the virtual World Center of Racing here on VSPEED as we have rolled over into the Clash session for the Moonshiners Racing League. And at the moment, we got 25 guys starting the Clash here tonight. So 25 guys are going to duke it out for 60 laps here at Daytona to determine the Clash winner.
For sure, we're getting these drivers ready to go. We're doing qualifying right now. We got 10 minutes of qualifying, 2 laps per driver before our 27 cars will take the green flag for our main event here tonight.
Yeah, and of course, we just got finished with the heat and the LCQ about 10 minutes ago. We had 8 people transfer into this Clash race here tonight to make up our 25 car field. So it is going to be an interesting one, and if it's anything like what we saw in our heat and our LCQ, runs are going to be hard to come by.
For sure, you can see that really all throughout our heat races. Drivers were struggling to make the top line work. When it did, it was mostly reliant on side drafting, pulling the car on the inside back. That's harder to do when you've got a whole line of cars down there on the inside. You really need a car kind of alone to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, but the one saving grace for the majority of this field, we got a lot of high-level names in this race. You got the likes of Brandon Beek, you got Shane Davis, you got a lot of people who are very high up in the A Open scene. You got Sean Rogers in here. Who else do we got in here that's relatively known within the A Open scene. Chris Davis is in here as well. You got a lot of high-level guys in this race, so runs shouldn't be really anything too difficult to come.
No, not at all. If you can get the pack together, I think it'll go pretty well. The only concern is, on the restarts, will the outside line do what it did in the heat races, where the outside line almost immediately disintegrates? Like, before we even finish a lap in the heat race, the outside line was gone. If it does that again here in the start of the feature race, I would imagine some of these guys are going to be a little more happy to qualify on the inside here versus on that top.
Yeah, and at the moment, we only have 7 cars that have set times, make that 8 as more times start to roll in here. As the first set of laps do start to hit the board. Aaron Matthews being your pole sitter for the moment with the 49.774 in that number 5 machine, but people are just now starting their laps, so we'll have to see if that time does end up holding.
Yeah, right now it's Matthews currently the fastest time, Carmichael second. One of our transfers, Nick King, currently third quick on the board. 6.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. We're getting it ready for you.
Yeah, as more and more times start to come in, people taking it a little bit slower on their first laps for the moment, just trying to conserve some temperatures on these cars, as this is a very temperature sensitive car. So a lot of people going very slowly on this first lap. Meanwhile, some other people that have set some laps, Chris Davis has officially taken over pole position with the 49.745. Aaron Matthews still sits in P2. Hunter Carmichael up into that third spot with a 782 as more and more people start their laps. Brandon Bikey coming around now to start his final lap. But as at the moment, still Chris Davis up top.
Yeah, right now we've got about 20 of, it looks like 25 cars going to take the grid for tonight's race. Setting their laps at the minute. Fastest still, Chris Davis in that 74. And he just got jumped. It's Sean Rogers in the 44 straight to the top of the board. He'll sit on pole for the time being. Followed by Chris Davis, followed by Aaron Matthews. Hunter Carmichael as well. And
Gallimore
new fastest lap, Paul Gallimore in the 11 goes to the top of the board.
I was just getting ready to say, you got one of the beast mode cars on the front row, still sits on the front row, but we got more and more people coming around to set some times. Here comes Brandon Beek on his lap. Crosses the line with the 769. That's going to put him into that 5th spot. Shane Davis actually sets the exact same lap time as him and gets into that 4th spot. And at the moment, only 4 cars yet to qualify, those being Alex Coffey, Randy Mullins, Nicholas Atwood, and Matt Cox.
Yeah, with 5 minutes left in qualifying, those drivers running out of time here to set their laps to try to move themselves up the field here tonight. Gallimore, pretty decent gap over the rest of the field. He ran a 49.705. Second place, Sean Rogers, 49.742. Chris Davis just barely off that with 49.745. And then it was really tight for 4th. Shane Davis, Brandon Bakey, both running 49.769. Davis gets it as it goes down to, I believe that would be the 10,000th of a second mark. Jeffrey Taylor slightly off, 49.770.
Man, I'm just sitting here in awe of how close some of these times are. You go from 4th down to about 14th, and it is just barely half a tenth, and I mean barely half a tenth. So these guys are incredibly close on times, as Randy Mullins and Alex Coffey coming around to set their fast laps. Mullins crossing the line now. He will set a 49.763. Coffey sets a 49.858. The 763 will put Randy Mullins up into that 4th spot. Alex Coffey with the 858 will sit in that, I believe, 17th spot in that number 19 Toyota.
Yeah, right now it doesn't look like we have anyone on track at the minute. Cars finishing up their laps. We've got 3 minutes left to go. We're trying to fix that stream issue for you right now. We're getting that back. We're working on it right now to get it back to live coverage for now. radio style, I guess, but we'll get that back to you before the race starts right here.
Yeah, and apologies again for that. Just working on getting some of these kinks ironed out. They will be fixed for the first race of the season, but hey, that happens with the first broadcast of the year, especially for a new league. Issues are expected to happen, so we do apologize that, but bringing it to you radio style here from Daytona International Speedway. Just over 2.5 minutes left in qualifying as Paul Gallimore sits atop your standings right now with a 49.705, as almost 4/100ths of a second over Sean Rogers in that second place beast mode car, Rogers sitting at a 49.742. Then you got to go back another 0.003 of a second to find Chris Davis, who sits in that third spot in the number 74 with a 49.745. Randy Mullins in that fourth spot with a 763, and Shane Davis and Brandon Beek are tied with 769s in fifth and sixth place.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers throughout the field who are really, really close in terms of time. Brandon Fetter placed 49.788, just barely behind Justin Belmont in a 49.786. That's for 11th and 12th. Looking up to 9th and 10th, we got a tie. Hunter Carmichael, Nick King, both running 49.782s. Even a little further back, you've got Colt Blazkowski right now running 17th, 49.856. Slightly ahead of Alex Coffey, currently qualified in 18th with a 49.858 at the minute.
Yeah, right now, only one car on track attempting to set a lap. That's going to be the 77 of Kenny Coppola as he works his way through turns one. Now, working on setting his first time lap on the night. Doesn't really have any time to do anything other than go flat out, as we have just under 1 minute remaining in qualifying. The main event here from Daytona as Coppola works his way into turns 3 and 4. And at number 77, I think he's a part of the beast mode camp as well. Team that just looks so good going around the track. But coming through the tri-oval, that number 77 of Kenny Coppola going to be setting a 49.828. That's going to put him up into the 16th position for that number 77.
Yeah, I want to give an update on some of the guys being asked about in chat. Randy Mullins, 4th at the minute, 49.763 in qualifying. Alex Coffey, 19th on the board as we end off qualifying with a 49.858. We're still working on getting this going here. This is the Daytona Clash. Coming up next week, we got the dual Daytona 300 after that. Qualifying starting to wrap up here. We'll get the race to you shortly.
Of course, we'll continue to bring this radio style until we cannot commentate anymore, but qualifying just ended, so we'll run through our starting grid real quick. Paul Gallimore starts on your pole position with Sean Rogers to his outside. Chris Davis going to be running out that top three. Randy Mullins in fourth with Shane Davis in that fifth spot. Just over 6/100ths of a second separating your top five. Brandon Beek in that sixth spot. Jeffrey Taylor in the number 9 going to be starting in 7th place with a 770. Aaron Matthews in 8 with a 49.774. Hunter Carmichael in 9th with a 782. Nick King tied with a 782 going to be starting in that 10th spot to round out your top 10.
Yeah, and going back through your field tonight, it's going to be Justin Belmont in the 60 car starting 11th. Brandon Fetter place in the 34 starting 12th. Barry Sanders in the 81 starting 13th. Tim Wortman Jr. in the 83 starting 14th. Kevin Ruff in the 14 rolls off 15th. Kenny Coppola in the 77 goes off 16th tonight. Jared Clark in the 21 off 17th. Colt Blazkowski, one of the transfers from the heat races, rolling off 18th. Alex Coffey in the 19, rolls off 19th. And Nigel Christensen in the 20, rolls off 20th.
And rounding out your field here tonight, Corey Moore in 21st, Johnny Shea 22nd, Caden Norfree in 23rd, Blaine Wilson 24th. Keep an eye on that number 18 in that 24th spot. I commentated a league a while ago, and he always started from the back, and he ended up up front pretty quickly, so keep an eye on that number 18. Matt Cox did not set a time. Going to start 25th. Nicholas Atwood in 26th, also not setting a time. And we do have word that we will be seeing a 3-wide salute as Tim Wortman Jr. starting 14th tonight is going to be racing in memory of his late father, Tim Wortman Sr. Of course, you've seen the graphic throughout the night in memory of Tim Wortman Sr., so we will see a 3-wide salute as we come to green flag.
Now, we're still working on that video issue, trying our best to get that to you once we get rolling here. For now, cars are starting to roll off pit road. It'll be Gallimore starting first on the inside, Rogers second on the outside, then Davis, Mullins, or Chris Davis, Mullins, and Shane Davis back in fifth.
And officially going to be a Beast Mode 1-2 as Beast Mode Performance locks out your front row. And those Beast Mode cars have always been quick, so no surprise to see them up front.
Not at all. Drivers getting ready for this 3-wide here. Everybody's getting ready to go. Cars moving up to the front on the top, rearranging themselves kind of in this pack here to get this thing going for you right now. Once this is done, we're going to have a couple pace laps, and then we will be ready to go here tonight. The field is all stacked up 2 wide, but set out in front of all of them alone, that 43 car, Tim Wortman Jr., leading the field at the minute in honor of his father.
Yeah, the field continuing to run 2 wide down the back straightaway here, that number 43. I feel like almost where it belongs, out in front of the field. Man, racing in memory of his late father, Tim Wortman Sr. It looks like these guys are working on trying to get into that 3-wide salute. It's going to be Chris Davis and Randy Bullets right behind them. Shane P. Davis and Brandon Beek on that 3rd row. So those are going to be your role players to start this race and figure out what's all going to happen to start. Coming out of turn number 4, we are going to be coming to the green flag as we work our way off of turn number 4. Pace car going to make that hard left turn on towards pit road. It's going to be in the hands of Paul Gallimore to get this clash underway. As green flag is in the air for the clash, we are underway from Daytona. Gallimore and Rogers getting a very even start. Pretty much the exact opposite of what we saw in the clash.
Yeah, pretty even there off the gate. In fact, the outside is going to prevail for the time being. That's Sean Rogers on the top. Sitting right behind him with the 54, Randy Mullins trying to get that push going. 27 back there shoving as well. Lanes staying even right now as we head down the back straightaway here on the first lap.
And you got the 74 machine of Chris Davis pushing your all-about sheet metal pole award winner Paul Gallimore through turns 3 and 4. Gallimore going to get the shove through the corner and is actually going to have a nose over the 44 of Sean Rogers. Still a beast mode performance 1-2 as we come to complete lap number 1. Looks like it's going to be Sean Rogers leading the first lap of the clash.
That outside is immediately working a lot better than we saw in the heat races. They're really managing to get the run up there. We didn't know if that was quite as possible with this new aero package, but it's doing good right now. However, they're getting a bit squirrely, and that's going to allow the inside to surge straight back out. Paul Gallimore taking that line to the lead, closely followed by Chris and Shane Davis.
Randy Mullins was a little bit out of line coming up off of turn number 2, which is going to result in that outside line losing a ton of ground as they're going to lose upwards of 3 spots on that inside line as Shane Davis in the 79 hops up into that outside line right in front of the 44 of Sean Rogers, getting a little bit squirrely further back to this lead. Gallimore up to the top. He's going to block that outside line. He's going to get right in front of the field. Huge wreck. We got one up in the air, almost upside down. That was the number 9 of, I believe, Jeffrey Taylor, who almost went upside down.
Well, that was about half the field there. You're right, Jeffrey Taylor hard into the inside wall and up on top of the roof of Paul Gallimore. He's the one who started that accident there, and it all went downhill so fast. You can see on the VSPEED replay, the 11 of Paul Gallimore comes up to block the top. Contact from Shane Davis behind, turns him down to the bottom line, and it just breaks loose from there.
Multiple cars, upwards of 10 or 11 involved in this very early wreck in the clash. Lap number 2, Shane Davis takes it up to the outside here off of turn number 4. Gallimore goes up to block the run, and while it was a clean block, I just don't think Shane Davis got lined up properly before bumping the number 11, and that sent Gallimore down into the 74 of, I believe that was Chris Davis. The number 9 of Jeffrey Taylor hits the inside wall at an extreme angle and almost goes upside down. You could see him on top of Paul Gallimore. Brandon Beek somehow avoids this from that third spot in the outside line, and just absolute calamity behind him as 10, 11, I think I counted, cars involved in this first wreck on lap number 3.
Yeah, still some little lingering gremlins there with that replay. We got to sort it back out. Some cars are already on pit road right now. In fact, 7 cars are already on pit road, either towing or trying to fix damage. That's Aaron Matthews, Nick King, Barry Sanders, Kenny Capola, Matt Cox, Paul Gallimore, Jeffrey Taylor, all already in the pits trying to fix cars right now.
A lot of big names involved in this first wreck here in the clash at Daytona. Upwards of 10 plus cars involved, and pit road is going to be busy as Belmonte is going to be the first one down in that number 16. Ryan Preece-esque number 60. Excuse me, that was the number 60, not number 16. My bad. But he's going to lead the field down pit road. He's got Shane Davis behind him and a lot of other people as well.
Only 2 cars staying out right now. Hunter Carmichael in the 3, Kevin Ruff in the 14. Both staying out on the racetrack. Everyone else is coming down for a little bit of gas and go, it seems, for most of the drivers. Couple, Belmonte specifically, taking 4 and are going to drop to the field.
Yeah, tires this early on is a bit of an interesting call. I know why you want to do it, but it's just interesting, even though you weren't involved in that wreck, to take tires here. But for the moment, it is going to be the number 3 of Hunter Carmichael as your lead.
And he'll be out front, staying out on that pit stop. Following him, the only other car staying out is going to be that 14 machine of Kevin Ruff. First 2 cars off pit road, Randy Mullins, Brandon Beek coming out 3rd and 4th. Coffee also comes out in 5th. He took gas only as well.
So a lot of heavy hitters involved in that one. Of the ones I could catch, Chris Davis, Nigel Christensen, Barry Sanders, Blaine Wilson, I believe, may have been involved in that as well. Paul Gallimore with a lot of damage on that Beast Mode Performance number 11. Jeffrey Taylor, more than likely out of this race after almost flipping. He definitely blew an engine in that number 9 machine. We'll see if he can get that number 9 back out on track, but a supremely hard hit for Jeffrey Taylor.
Yeah, a lot of those guys up front taking major damage. Paul Gallimore started on pole of this race, and he's already been in the pits for about a minute and a half now trying to get damage out of that car. A lot of drivers, big damage. A lot of drivers looking like they might not be able to get it back out here.
All right, so we'll take it to another VSPEED instant replay here, and you'll see Shane Davis takes it up to the outside in front of Sean Rogers. Gallimore goes up to block that huge surge coming from the outside line. He actually gets the block. It just looks like Shane Davis misaligns with the 11 at Gallimore, and that's what causes this massive wreck. We're looking at Jeffrey Taylor here. Wow.
It was a big hit that launched him onto the roof of Paul Gallimore, and I don't think either of those cars are going to get that thing fixed up. We got 6 cars a lap down at least. 3 2 laps down still in the pits.
Well, we are on 1 new green here as the lights on top of the pace car are out. I believe they are getting ready to come out onto the backstretch here as we re-rack the entire field, minus about 3 or 4 cars, actually 6 total. And resume this race with about 20 cars left in the field.
Yeah, we'll be going back green on lap 7, and hopefully these drivers can get more than a lap in before we have another accident. Everybody's probably going to take it a little easier after that. I can't imagine we're going to see the same level of aggression after a wreck like that. I think some of these guys further up front going to be a little more willing to take their time with these moves.
Now, one big difference in the clash as compared to the heat and the LCQ from earlier tonight, caution laps will count for the clash as it is a 60-lap event. So caution laps do count. So any laps not run under green flag conditions will count towards the total towards the end of this race as we work lap number 6 right now, coming to number 7. You can see the pace car well off into the distance of the number 3 of Hunter Carmichael, as it will be him, and I believe that's the number 14 of Cabin Ruff to his outside, as it is, as pace car does turn down onto pit road towards the safety of its pit stall at the end of pit road, but green flag is back out in the air. Hunter Carmichael in the number 3 gets a pretty good jump on the field, actually. Doesn't really have any help behind him, but Brandon Beek on that outside line pushing Cabin Ruff on that with that number 14 machine. Looks like they will take the lead from Hunter Carmichael, as he still does not have any help through 1 and 2.
It's Carmichael right now running the bottom out to the front, but they're going to get side by side off the corner. It's Mullins pushing Carmichael, but it's Ruff out in front down the back straightaway.
Beek pushing that number 14 of Cabot and Ruff for everything it is worth on that outside line. They got Johnny Shade in the 45 right behind him. Behind them is Justin Galmonti in the number 60. But Beek has those two clear for sure. Almost has Johnny Shade clear of that inside line as well. I wonder if they're going to work to try and get Gallimore clear as well.
That's what they're going to try to do, but for now, it's still Ruff out front. That outside lane is doing pretty good to build some momentum, and you're seeing it right now. Belmonte going to go up to 4th. Moore trying to get up to 5th. That outside line pulling way ahead of the bottom, and they're getting a little bit loose, trying to shove each other down the straightaway.
Yeah, they are moving on that outside line, 197 miles an hour for Cabin Ruff into turn number 3. But here comes that inside line once again. Randy Mullins pushing Hunter Carmichael to the lead, and they're going to push well clear of that outside line, coming to take lap number 9.
Still side by side. Both lines cross the start-finish line for lap 9. Those top two now on the inside getting away. It's a game of...
Beek.
Bit of a kind of yo-yo there where one lane gets way out in front and then kind of comes back to earth, and the other one's able to get a run going and equalize right now. That's what you've seen so far. The top gets a run, then the bottom, then back to the top. Right now it's the inside out front, but the outside is mounting another charge. Cabin Ruff leads it in 3rd. We'll see if he can get back up to Carmichael.
Almost dead even the split between cars, between the inside and the outside. That outside line coming with another big run and another big shot of momentum, as Cabin Ruff is going to lead this lap over the number 3 of Hunter Carmichael. As Brandon Beek still pushing that number 14. That is something I have noticed that is way more important now, is how good of a pusher is that second car. Because you remember back to the old Aero model with the Cup cars, you could have 3 and sometimes 4 people pushing. Now you really only have the one guy that's able to push without too many problems arising.
Yeah, right now, Shade, you're seeing him on the rear bumper. He's pushing that car in front of him, trying to get something to happen. The car in front of him is not Hunter Carmichael, it's Brandon Beek in the 27. That 3-car train starting to get going. The outside, once again, has the momentum, and they'll be the hot line on lap 11.
And now you're starting to see some of the drawbacks of running the fixed setup here, especially at a plate track. Everybody is loose as the tires are heating up, especially those left side tires are starting to heat up. This car is only going to serve to get looser and looser as Alex Coffey now takes it up into the outside line. He's going to hop up in front of Brennan Fetter plays for about 6th place in that outside line, but that inside line is falling away pretty quickly. Carmichael still trying to get some help from Randy Mullins in that 54, but that inside line is only down to 6 now.
And I wonder if we're gonna see anybody from that outside try to jump down to the bottom and give a bit of a resurgence to that line. Right now, it's not happening at all, and Carmichael and Mullins are getting free fall to the back. But if someone up here starts to drop down, I can see them getting a bit of a run. They're gaining some more time on the bottom. No one down there in front of them, but they've got the inside through the corner, and a big checkup on the top puts them back up around 5th.
Randy Mullins in that 54, pushing the 3 of Hunter Carmichael as hard as he can, as now Sean Rogers in the 44 decides to hop down into that bottom line. Here comes the bottom line. Holy cow, with a huge run. They're going to take the lead, and Mullins is going to get clear of that outside line as well.
Yeah, huge jump for those 2 cars, specifically the tandem of Carmichael and Mullins, getting way out in the lead. Still rough, trying to lead that outside and 4th, being pushed by Brandon Bikey back there, running 4th in the 27. Now that inside line starts to die off, and it's the outside going straight back to the front. Bikey pushing Ruff 1 and 2 down the back straightaway.
Kevin Ruff almost got turned off the nose of the 27 of Beek, and now Caden Norfrey back up to the rear end of the 54 of Randy Mullins, and here comes Hunter Carmichael in that inside line once again as Belmonte tries to get formed back up with Johnny Shade on that outside line. Kevin Ruff looks like he's going to lead this lap here with another big shot of momentum from that outside line.
Yeah, the inside's trying to get going again, though. Carmichael, he's trying to make that move to the front, but it's not working right now. It's still Ruff on top, Bikey in 2nd, Shade in 3rd. Here comes the inside. They always seem to get a better run on the bottom through the corner, and that's going to give Carmichael the spot right back. That tandem between him and Mullins continues to work perfectly.
I tell you what, Hunter Carmichael has found himself a friend in the form of Randy Mullins in that number 54. He has been pushing the 3-car of Hunter Carmichael for everything it is worth, and it has somehow resurged that inside line, and now the outside line is starting to fall apart because of it.
It's really just back and forth, seesawing at the front of the field. One lane gets it moving, then the other gets it moving, rinse and repeat for the first 10 laps of this race that we've ran under green. Right now, it's still Ruff up front on the outside. That outside line, the main pushers behind Kevin Ruff, as the inside gets another send, are going to be Brandon Bikey in the 27. It's Johnny Shade, 3rd. Justin Belmonte in 4th, and then Corey Moore in 5th. But the inside has the speed right now. That's Hunter Carmichael leading that line. Randy Mullins back in 2nd. Caden Norfrey 3rd. Sean Rogers 4th. Colt Blazkowski in 5th.
Working a quarter distance here in the clash, coming to take lap number 16. Hunter Carmichael is going to lead 1 quarter distance of this race, and it is just continuing to be a 195-mile-an-hour game of chess up front, as nobody can figure out what line wants to be more powerful. One line leads one lap, the other leads the next, and it has just been back and forth the entire night, and it looks like it's going to happen again, as it looks like that outside line gets a little bit out of sorts there. That inside line is really formed up, as now Beek and Kevin Ruff are going to break away just a little bit and lose a ton of momentum on that outside line. But coming off of turn number 4, going to be Carmichael again, as the 35 of Caden Norfrey gets a little bit loose off of turn number 4.
Yeah, outside lane holds on to the advantage, and Ruff is able to lead the lap as we cross the 1 quarter mark in this race. But as we head back down into the corner, that inside has really prevailed kind of mid-corner. It's got the shorter way around the racetrack, and that's allowed Carmichael to get back up there. Unfortunately for him, this time Mullins isn't tight to his bumper, and the run the outside lane gets down the straightaway is going to be a little more prevalent. Ruff and Bikey clear 1-2.
Dead even split between your 2 lines once again, 8 per line, as that inside line gets another really good surge through 3 and 4. The outside line a little bit out of sorts is now, I believe that is the 47 on the outside, very outside, and he is going to have to fall back. That's actually the 44, or excuse me, no, catch that was, I think it was the 42 of Corey Moore, who almost got shoved into the wall. That outside line has almost died off completely now.
Yeah, it's advantageous for the bottom because they've got the position, but check it. Outside line coming straight back. It's just a different car at the front. Sean Rogers leading it right now, pushing Cabin, or being pushed by Cabin Ruff and going down into the corner. They've got some speed. Can they break the two-car tandem of Carmichael and Mullins that have run this race so far from the bottom? We'll find out. Right now, not looking likely, although the three car is really loose, and that'll give them a chance.
A little bit of lap traffic these guys are going to have to deal with now. A little bit of three wide there is, oh man, Cabin Ruff almost ran into the back of Shane Davis. Everyone able to keep it straight though, and now Sean Rogers being pushed off the nose of Cabin Ruff. They're getting a little bit squirrely at the top of turns 2 now. They're going to have to get formed back up, and now we got, I believe that is the number 8 of Colt Blazkowski jumps up into the outside.
Yeah, Blazkowski's going to go to the top, but he's losing time up there. The 91 of Atwood, one of the cars who advanced out of our heat race tonight. Currently running up in the top 5. He holds the top. We'll see if that line can get a surge right now because it's the top 5 on the inside, the top 5 on the racetrack. Vikey's jumped down to the bottom along with the 44 of Rogers. Blazkowski now the leader on the top.
Yeah, number 3 of Hunter Carmichael and the 54 of Randy Mullins still 1-2 on that inside line, but here comes Blazkowski and the number 8, Nicholas Atwood, and the 91 up top. They have a little bit of help behind them from Cabin Ruff and the 14, but that outside line just has not been as good since Brandon Beek left it.
No, it hasn't. Atwood doing his best up there. He jumped up in front of Blazkowski. Hasn't been working so far. We'll see if the run off the corner can get him anything. It absolutely will get them something. And crossing the 1/3 mark of this race, it's going to be Nicholas Atwood leading lap number 20, being pushed by Blazkowski clear. And now we head back into the corner, straight back to Carmichael on the bottom.
Got a little bit risky further back as the 60 of Belmonte, Justin Belmonte, almost got turned down into the inside line, almost hit Fetter Place in the 34. They're able to keep it straight as the inside line now takes back over the momentum race, but here comes the 91 of Nicholas Atwood with a huge push from Colt Blazkowski as they work their way through turns 3 and 4. It looks like they're going to take the lead, except Blazkowski gets separated from Atwood.
Right now, bottom's coming straight back to it. It'll be Carmichael leading the lap. Atwood still holding steady on the top, and he's going to get the lead back down into 1. The issue is, as we've seen every time they've gone through this corner, the bottom line just has that advantage, having less distance around the racetrack, and that'll get the top 3 cars, Carmichael, Mullins, and Norfrey, clear out front. There is a lot more cars on the outside right now, though I wonder if that will pay off later in this run.
Your entire lead pack of 16 cars separated by just over a second as of the last timing loop, and it could not be getting any closer. Outside line starting to break up just a little bit more as Brandon Beek fits it into that gap on the outside line. Man, that got close. But Brandon Beek is back out on that outside line. Let's see if that outside starts to get some momentum going again.
Let's see. He was second in line earlier. Vikey now third on that outside line, pushing the 2 in front of him of Blazkowski and Atwood. And whoa, big move up to that outside line. That's Rogers in the 44, throwing himself into that 4th spot on the top. A lot of cars moving up to that outside lane right now. We'll see if that translates to speed on the racetrack.
Brandon Vikey having to back off a little bit from the 8 of Blazkowski is going to cause this outside line to lose a couple of spots on that inside line as Blazkowski tries to get the run back up to the 91 of Atwood. But for now, it's going to be 3 cars clear of that outside line on the inside. It's still Hunter Carmichael and Randy Mullins, who have not separated since that early restart 24 laps into this clash.
Yeah, and the inside has maybe the biggest advantage that they've had in this entire stint so far. The top 5 cars all clear of Atwood, first car on the top. But once again, the run is starting to switch back as it's done so often. Atwood's put himself up to 4th. He's going to lose time here, but with how checked out those top 2 are, they're going to have to come back to earth eventually.
Yeah, they will, and it looks like it's already starting to happen as Bliskowski gets back on the rear end of that number 91 of Atwood. They do start to pull away on that outside line as a tandem. Pikey, though, in the 27, starting to pull back closer and closer with the draft, but they have no help behind them. I believe the closest car to them is Sean Rogers in the 44, and he's a couple car lengths off. Now he starts to pull back in, and that outside line getting some pretty good momentum going once again.
Yeah, if they can tighten that up there with Bikey in the 27 and the 44 of Rogers, they might be able to keep that lead for a little bit, but coming out of the corner, let's see. Oh, big move down the track. Atwood cuts to the bottom as we head to lap 26. He'll lead the lap, and now it's Bliskowski up front on the top. We'll see if Atwood tries to play both lanes here, if he just thinks the bottom is going to work a little better.
Now Hunter Carmichael having to become the pusher for that inside line. Randy Mullins having to back off because of the aggressive move to the inside by Atwood. Here comes that outside line once again. Bikey pushing the 8 of Bliskowski. They got Sean Rogers for help as well. Nigel Christensen moves up to the outside in that number 20. But still trying to get formed up is that outside line. As here comes Justin Belmonte trying to get back up to Sean Rogers.
Yeah, the issue is while Bliskowski, Bikey, and Rogers were all pushing each other, Belmonte was pretty much nowhere to be found. There was a huge gap between the 3rd and 4th cars on that top, and that was what allowed the inside to get the run. Coming back down into here, they'll have some space through the corner, but now they're starting to get disorganized at the front, and that will swing the balance back to the top line. Both of these lines coming up on a lap car. It's Tim Wortman Jr. in a pack a little bit up the road, along with several other lap cars. They just blew past Gallimore on the apron, and Tupola and both Davises running the lap down a little bit further up.
Yeah, that group of about 4 lap cars just crossed start-finish line, whereas your main pack is coming into the tri-oval now. Nicholas Atwood just now crossing the start-finish line as that little pack heads off into turn number 2. That outside line is all sorts of messed up right now, as they just cannot get anything going right now.
Yeah, and the inside once again gets the advantage. Atwood this time leading, though, instead of Carmichael, who's in 2nd with Mullins, Norfrey, and Ruff. Something that's going to come into play here as this race continues is pit strategy. We've run 28 laps green. We know these cars do not have the fuel to make it to the end. If this race stays green, at some point, everybody's going to have to come down, fill up on fuel, and try to make it to the end of the race on that. So that's a whole new wrinkle we haven't even added into the mix yet.
And it looks like pit strategy is going to come into play sooner rather than later, as pretty much everybody except the 4 cars in that outside line has moved to the bottom. The only 4 cars on that outside line are Colt Bliskowski, Brandon Bikey, Sean Rogers, and I believe that's also the 60 of Justin Belmonte. It is. And coming off of turn number 2, they're still working to try to get to the front of this lead pack. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but it looks like they have the momentum to be able to.
Yeah, right now, still leading on that bottom. A little bit of an internet issue back there. I believe that's Feder placing the 34, but he's getting it sorted out. I think this might be good for the bottom, because with only 4 cars on the top, they're really going to be able to work this line. We'll see how this shakes out for them, but I would not want to be Belmonte right now. Last car there on the top.
Yeah, but they are starting to work their way clear this inside line, and now, oh, Sean Rogers almost gets turned off the nose of the 60, but they have another helping hand in the form of the 35 of Caden Norfrey as he hops up into that outside line. Now it's 5 cars deep as they work their way clear that inside line. Sean Rogers clear for a moment, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get that entire outside line clear as of now.
What's not helping that inside is that the back end of the line is kind of lagging off a little bit. That's allowing that less cars but more concise top lane to really manage the air, get themselves out front. Halfway mark of this race now. Blazkowski leads, Bikey second, Rogers, Belmonte, Atwood, the rest of the top 5.
Yeah, that outside line is a lot more formed up than it seems the first 5 or 6 cars of the inside line are. The inside line's able to get a good run going through the corners, but that outside line is just way faster down the straightaways because it seems like they're a lot more formed up, and they definitely are, as we are almost cracking 200 miles an hour at the turn number 2, or excuse me, turn number 3.
Yeah, these cars a little slower than they used to be with those aero changes, as you mentioned. Only going about 200 instead of the 210 it was previously possible to reach around here. But the racing is still just as good. Atwood got the inside back to the front. Blazkowski's going to even it out down into the turn, but the inside always gets that run mid-corner, and it'll be Atwood jumping out to the lead, pushed by Carmichael.
Oh, Carmichael moving up to the middle line. They're going to leave Atwood and actually go 3 wide for the lead. Atwood being left for dead as the entire inside line is not helping that 91, and it looks like that may have been planned.
He got left out to dry completely there, and that'll be Blazkowski taking the lead. New leader on the bottom will be the familiar combo of Carmichael and Mullins shoving on that yellow line. Bad news though for Atwood, because he's gone all the way to the very back of the field. He'll slot in 12th, right between Christensen and Alex Coffey in 13th.
That outside line has officially gone back down the 4 as Caden Norfree hops down into that 4th spot on the inside line. And now that you got Randy Mullins and Hunter Carmichael back on the bottom, leading that bottom line, that outside line has had no answers for the last lap or so.
No, they've got so many more cars on the bottom, and the cars that they do have on the bottom are all great pushers. Mullins has been able to push Carmichael really well. Ruff down there as well. Norfree hopped down there. Brandon Fetterplace finally up to 5th in this race, making it back towards the front. This is a lane full of guys that know how to push, and that's kind of gotten them out in front of Blazkowski. Although he is starting to even it up a little bit here, gotten himself back to 5th.
Just a little update, the 42 of Corey Moore is the first one to pull it down pit road for some pit stops, it looks like, and he was the only one out of the lead pack that decided to pit. We'll have to see who decides to follow him this time by, and or who decides to pull it down first of this lead pack and bring a ton of them with them.
Yeah, still leading 3 cars on the inside. We'll see. Anybody this time? No takers. Everybody will stay out on the track, and that outside line seems to be a bit stuck in place. They're lingering right around 5th or 6th. Blazkowski stuck on the outside of Norfree and Fetterplace out there. He hasn't really been able to break himself past 4th to infiltrate this top 3 of Carmichael, Mullins, and Ruff.
Coming straight from pit road, it does not sound like that was a planned pit stop for Corey Moore. They have pulled it behind the wall and have retired that number 42, so it looks like that was not a planned pit stop for Corey Moore.
No, it's maybe a little early, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing pit stops here within the next 5 or 6 laps. We're really starting to get to that time. None right here. Everybody will stay out, but fuel is going to start stretching pretty thin. The drivers will be able to make it a couple extra laps because a lot of them did stay out on, or a lot of them did come down to top off on that first caution. But those fuel tanks will be getting low eventually. I imagine by lap 45 or so, everybody will have come down.
Yeah, a full tank of fuel here for the Cup cars will last you somewhere between 45 and 55 laps based on the math. So taking into account that early caution, my guess would be somewhere around the lap 50 mark. So that is going to throw a little bit of a wrench into the end of this race, and we have some pit strategy to deal with. And with this small of a pack, there's no telling how many different packs we'll break off into.
Yeah, Blazkowski's got that outside line working again, back to the lead, being pushed by Bikey right now, and Rogers will get up with them. That 4-car race on the top is going to cut down to the bottom with the exception of Belmonte. Blazkowski, Bikey, and Rogers are going to leave that 60 car out to dry, and they will get single file on the bottom, potentially preparing for some pit stops here.
And Belmonte does get down onto that inside line, so now it is a one-line race, and it looks like more than likely pit stops are in order for the field. Don't be surprised to see a ton of takers here within the next couple of laps, as more than likely these guys are going to want to get their pit stop done earlier rather than later.
For sure. The main key is just coming down with everybody else, though. Like, you can't come down alone or else we're going to go free fall into the back. You got to have people to come down with. I think we're going to see most of the field try to come down on the same lap or within a couple laps of each other. The main concern as they get around these lap cars here on the top is going to be, will anyone spin it out, maybe have a bit of an accident trying to get into the pit lane?
Yeah, we've always seen our fair share of lockups in the pit lane. We've seen a couple of guys go spinning, so that's always something you got to keep in the back of your head, because if one guy goes spinning, that can cause a chain reaction and cause a huge wreck, and that's not something we want to see this only just in the middle of this clash. So really gonna have to keep an eye on what happens as they go down towards pit road, and more than likely these guys are going to have it planned to where they're going to be as far away from each other as they can heading down into that choke point of pit road.
Yeah, you don't want to have other cars straight up on you as you enter the pits, because then you open up the possibility of one of those cars having an issue, spinning out, hitting you, and you both end up out of the race. The margins are so razor thin on pit road. If you exit more than a second back, you've lost the draft and probably the race. So you got to be perfect coming into the pits. And these drivers are going to have to do
that. First blinker here as Brandon Fetterplace has called that he is planning on pitting in here, as here comes the majority of the lead pack. We got 6 cars coming down pit road. Watch for speeders, as a lot of them are coming in hot.
Everybody seems to make it on pretty clean in this pack. No issues between those cars. Let's take a look quick here at the list of drivers coming down this time. That is going to be Randy Mullins, Hunter Carmichael, Justin Belmonte, Brandon Fetterplace, Barry Sanders, and Kevin Ruff. All of them taking fuel only enough to get them to the end of the race.
We have a 3-car breakaway up front. Cole Bleskowski, Brandon Bikey, and Sean Rogers have broken away from the rest of the pack by just about a second, as here comes all the leaders coming down towards pit road. Everybody but 2 decides to bring it down pit road, and a couple of them were coming in pretty hot there.
Yeah, like you said, might need to watch out for some speeders there, but everybody's going to make it into the box all right, except for the 91 Atwood, who you see there missing the box just a little bit. That could come back to bite him here with how small these margins are.
And the Florida Highway Patrol has handed out their first speeding ticket. Kenny Coppola with a black flag for speeding down pit road. He is going to lose a ton of time. The number 77 of Coppola. We also have another one, Caden Norfree, speeding on the exit of pit road. He's going to have to come down and serve a 40-second stop and hold as well.
That's going to be devastating for those 2 drivers. In fact, that might single-handedly lose the race for those 2 drivers. It's almost impossible to come back from a green flag pit road speeding penalty here unless you get really lucky with some cautions. Right now, top 3, Rogers, Bikey, Blazkowski, but you can see this pack of 3 cars behind him. That's Fetterplace, that's Ruff, and that's Barry Sanders. They're going to work around the outside, and those 3 will jump out to the lead on the pit stop.
Yeah, but they're going to have company very quickly. Sean Rogers, Brandon Bikey, Colt Bleskowski, Paul Gallimore, and Shane Davis, all in a pack of 5, and they look to be keeping up with your overall leaders of Gallimore, with your overall leaders of Fetterplace and a couple others as well, as Fetterplace takes over the lead in the 34.
Yeah, this is a 6-car race up here right now. There's 2 cars at the back. It's Gallimore and Davis, who are both multiple laps down. They're kind of out of it right now, just racing for vibes. As these top 6, it's Fetterplace up front, Ruff, Sanders, Rogers, Bikey, Blazkowski running in this top 6. We'll see if they can hold on to the lead here.
About 18 laps to go here At Daytona here in the clash, Fetter Place leads this inside line. If you're just now joining us, we just had green flag pit stops, so that's why it looks a lot more spread out than it was here about 5 minutes ago. Green flag pit stops did hand out a couple of speeding penalties as well. Caden Norfree got a black flag for speeding on the exit of pit lane, and Kenny Coppola was the other one receiving a penalty as he got a speeding coming into the entrance of pit road. So those two are, for all intents and purposes, out of this race as they have lost a lap. Norfree has not come down to serve his black flag, but he's expected, he's actually on pit road serving it right now. So those two more than likely out of this race.
Yeah, right now, Fetter Place still holding on to that lead up front. I mentioned the bad pit stop for Nicholas Atwood. He missed his box when he came down, had to reverse. He went all the way back to 14th. He's 10 seconds back of this lead group. That is how close it is. A small mistake like that can completely ruin your race.
Now, do keep in mind, we have a second pack of 5 cars that seems to be catching our lead pack. It is led by the 60 of Justin Belmonte. Look who he's got behind him, though. He's got Randy Mullins, who dominated that inside line earlier on in this race, kept it in the race for all intents and purposes, and they just cracked 200 miles an hour heading down into turn number 3. That whole pack is Justin Belmonte, Randy Mullins, Alex Coffey, Johnny Shade, and Nigel Christensen. They are slowly but surely catching up to this lead pack.
They were pretty far back, too. They were kind of consistently stuck at around 3 seconds, but a little bit of disorganization among those front 6 has gotten these guys back up in it. Fastest lap of the race was just ran. It's the 60 of Justin Belmonte. He's got that draft from those cars in front, and it will not be long before he's up to the bumper of Barry Sanders in the 81.
All right, keep an eye on the speedometer. They have the draft, 199, 200 miles an hour for the 60 of Belmonte, 201 as he takes it to the outside of the 79 of Shane Davis. Got to remember, Shane Davis and the 77 of Coppola are a lap down, so those will not be for position as they look to get an outside line going once again here.
Yeah, the issue is that side draft can be so devastating. When you try to take it side by side like this, it can be really bad on your speed. Right now, that outside lane is trying to work, but they've really hit a wall right now, not able to get around that 81 of Sanders.
Yeah, that outside line does have enough momentum to scare the leaders to go up to block. Gallimore, Blitzkowski, Bikey, and Rogers all hop up in front of Justin Belmonte. That inside line, though, is still Fetter Place, still Kevin Ruff, and still Barry Sanders, but they got Coppola and Davis behind for help. That outside line has taken over, though, as now Coppola and Davis leave those 3 orange cars out to dry.
And that top lane is really working right now. We got a car dropping to the inside, 2 of them, in fact. Randy Mullins and Alex Coffey are going to get down there, and that will give a little bit of help to that bottom line. They'll get up to the front in a hurry, and out of nowhere, shot out of a cannon, top 2 suddenly is going to become Randy Mullins and Alex Coffey riding that inside line, and they'll be followed by Johnny Shade in the 45.
Ooh, man, Rogers almost got turned by the 27 of Bikey on that outside line, but that inside line is flying.
They're really going right now. Look at how much of a gap they've opened up there. Fetter Place and Ruff joined them on the bottom, and they are half a second clear of the next car, Rogers and Christensen back there. These guys will start to catch up, but it's all gone wrong for Bikey, who's dropped outside of the top 10 with Blazkowski as well.
Serving up a barn burner here for the clash as we're working towards 10 to go. That almost second pack. They've caught the draft of this lead pack once again. It's about 2 car lengths of a gap between Gallimore and I believe that is Barry Sanders in the 81. It is now here comes Belmonte to the outside. He's got Bikey, he's got Blazkowski, he's got Gallimore, Coppola, and Davis behind him. They decide to hop back down into that bottom line though and try to build another run as here comes Belmonte and Bikey, but they still fall back behind that inside line.
Yeah, fastest lap was that 60 of Belmonte. It's really easy to get speed when you're kind of back there catching up with the draft. Here comes the outside lane. It's a two-car push. Belmonte and Bikey running up there on the top, and right now they're making it work. Getting a little bit of speed on these cars because they've got 5 that have jumped up to join them behind. Blazkowski and the 2 lap cars, Gallimore back there as well, trying to help that top line out.
They really need another car in this outside line to really get it going, and it doesn't look like anyone wants to hop up in front of the 60 of Belmonte. It looks like they're all content with staying on that inside line and still pushing further on as Mullins leads another lap.
That inside really has the advantage right now, and it's because the outside hasn't been able to get themselves up from about 7. I think if one more car was to jump out in front of Belmonte, they'd have a great chance of shooting to the front. But they need that car to be willing to take the risk, and they're going to get help from the lap car here. That's actually going to give them some draft and a little bit of speed, but now that they're past the lap car, they're straight back to neutral.
Yeah, they are. Belmonte now, even with Sean Rogers in the 44 on that inside line. Bikey, though, still trying to get this outside line any sort of momentum, and it looks like they're starting to gain more and more inch by inch here as Belmonte is side drafting that inside line. Little by little, they are working their way closer and closer to the front, but they still got 4 or 5 cars they need to get around if they want to fight for the lead.
That they do. They're all still side by side up here. Belmonte back in 6th. It's just the top 5 right now. It's Mullins, Coffee, Shade, Feder Place, Rough. Same group of 5 cars that got away in the first place that are getting away from this outside right now. But the side draft is helping. That's what's causing those cars further back on the inside to start to drop time. And we'll see if Belmonte can take advantage of that now that we're inside 10 to go.
9 laps to go here at Daytona. 4 cars breaking away on that inside line. More and more help coming for that outside, though, as it's up to 6. Actually making 7 on that outside line. And those people that are separated from that inside line really aren't doing much to help, as now Belmonte's going to hop down in front of the 14 of Ruff there to get back into that inside line. And now Bikey still looking for some more help as Belmonte now hops back up into the outside line, followed by Christensen, and they're wrecking further back. Blazkowski and Bikey get into it. No caution on the racetrack. We're going to stay green.
Yeah, it didn't go around. Blazkowski's hard into the wall. Rogers also looks to be stopped. That's going to be devastating for those two. We'll get a VSPEED replay for you.
As soon as we can here, but we're still green. Lap 53 of 60. Mullins still leads over Coffee, Shade, Feder Place, and Belmonte. Little bit of a breakaway, and it looks like the second pack is almost about to lose the draft, but Kevin Ruff and Barry Sanders are somehow going to hold on to it.
Yeah, right now, back to live action. You're seeing the 8 of Blazkowski pull it into the pits. Done for the night. Right now, the top 6 have gotten clear on the inside. That's Mullins, Coffee, Shade, Feder Place, Belmonte, and Ruff. Those guys are clear. Barry Sanders is back there in 7th. From there, it's a 1-second gap from Sanders to Christensen. And the guys further on back, like Bikey, are going to be reliant on that 20 car to find some kind of draft. Right now, though, not happening. They've lost this pack of 7.
Call it a 7-car race for the win. Working 7 laps to go. Who's going to make the first move that sends this lead pack into a frenzy? As it is only 7 cars, but there's 3 or 4 cars behind these guys working to get formed up to see if they can catch back up to this lead pack. This lead pack, though, is doing about 200 miles an hour down into turn number 3, so it's going to be hard to catch these guys.
Top 7. Still in a breakaway right now. We're hitting 6 to go at the line this time. And if you're one of these cars at the back of this breakaway, Sanders, Ruff, you're running out of time to get yourself up from 6th to 1st. Not going to be long before we see those cars start to pull out and make moves.
Yeah, Randy Mullins still leads this race. Alex Coffey pushing that number 54 machine. And you got another Toyota number right behind him in the 45 of Johnny Shade. as these three are the ones that have been leading this inside line for the better part of this run since green flag pit stop.
They've done a good job to hold on to it, but some of these cars behind them are going to start to get antsy. We're going to hit 5 to go this time, and I guarantee you this single file ring around the bottom won't last much longer.
Put a hand in the air, 5 laps to go at Daytona. Mullins leads lap 55, and now we start to get into the real mental game of this 195-mile-an-hour game of chess. Who's going to make the first move? Who is going to be able to come out on top here in the clash? As Randy Mullins leads him off of 2. Nobody looking to make a move quite yet, but that second pack, they're not falling off. They're holding back about 2 seconds off this lead pack.
That second pack is hoping that this lead pack gets side by side as soon as possible, because the longer that these guys up front fight, the more shot they have of getting back in it. They've got a slim chance right now. They would need some really crazy racing out of this pack to have a chance to get back up there with 4 to go. For now, everyone's still single file. Belmonte's trying to change that.
Belmonte wants to make the move. Nobody wants to go with the 60 machine, but still, we work towards the finish of the clash here. Mullins leads off of 2. Belmonte takes it to the outside, doesn't have any biters, but he is showing he wants to make the move as they work their way into 3.
Top 2 are starting to fall back, and I wonder if that is the start of a move. If Ruff is going to try to slingshot up to get something going, it won't work for him right now. 3 to go this time at the line.
3 laps to go for your field here in the clash. Still 7 cars in this lead pack. That second pack still holding on to about a 2.5 second gap, call it about 3 seconds now, as they work to try and see if this lead pack can stay side by side just long enough. And now, here comes the move. Belmonte to the outside. He's got Feder Place right behind him. Actually, that is not Feder Place. That is actually Cabin Ruff in the 14. Barry Sanders goes to the outside. Alex Coffey now takes it to the outside of Randy Mullins for the lead. And now Mullins is going to get left behind as everybody takes it to the outside to pass that 54.
Mullins hung out to dry, back to 7th and losing time. He's going to need to get into this draft quickly if he wants any hope to bring it home with 2 to go. Right now, it's Coffey, Shade, Belmonte, all packed tight in the top 3, all pushing each other. It could only take a second for something to go wrong. We're heading down the back straightaway. No one's pulled out yet. 1.5 to go at Daytona.
Alex Coffey leads the Daytona clash here in that number 19. Will he be the leader in a lap and a half time, as coming through 3 and 4, Coffey being pushed by Shade off of turn number 4. They're getting antsy. They're getting sideways. Shade looks to the inside. They're going to make Belmonte almost wrecks, but we are white flag in the air presented by League Gaming. Alex Coffey still your leader. Here comes Cabin Ruff at the 14. Takes it to the inside of the 19 of Alex Coffey. Coffey's going to get let off top to drive. Barry Sanders in the 81 now, behind the 14 of Cabin Ruff. Feder Place in the 34. He's going to stay with Sanders. Coffey gets to the inside of the 34 Feder Place, decides to fall back in line behind the 34 and try to mount a last-second charge here. Coffey, though, to the inside with Shade. Sanders turns Ruff. Sanders turns Ruff, and now the entire lead pack is wrecking, and it's going to be Brandon Feder Place who takes the win here in the clash after a ton of chaos on the last lap. Wow.
And we're still wrecking for 3rd. Bikey turned a lap car after the line. He finishes 3rd. Christensen 2nd. Coffey 4th. Shade 5th. But it's Brandon Feder Place out of nowhere going to get to burn it down at Daytona.
FABRICATION, who got in because he was the highest point scorer to not transfer through the heat or the last chance qualifier, is going to come out on top here at Daytona International Speedway for the clash here for the Moonshiners Racing League, and he'll get to take it to VANLILYS Stickers victory lane tonight as he's going to burn it down here in a couple seconds.
Making that lap back around to the start-finish line. Victory lap for Brandon FABRICATION. Like you said, he only got in on a provisional. He wasn't supposed to be here, but he's gone from back to front, led 6 laps, and he'll get it done.
FABRICATION going to burn it down here on the finish line. And also to remember, in memory of Tim Wortman Sr., we will see a Polish victory lap from Tim Wortman Jr. after FABRICATION is done burning it down. But FABRICATION already looks to be stuck for just a second, but he gets it back going. But FABRICATION takes home the clash in exciting fashion, and he will get to take it to VANLILYS Stickers victory lane here tonight for the clash. Professional burnouts for Brandon FABRICATION in the 34 after barely qualifying for the clash to begin with. Goes from 0 to hero in 60 laps and wins the clash. As we're working on trying to get a replay of what happened on the last lap here. This is coming to take the white flag. Alex Coffey still your leader. The 60 of Justin Belmonte and Johnny Shade almost wrecked, which causes Belmonte to lose this lead pack of 5. And heading down into turn 1, the 14 of Kevin Ruff takes it to the inside of Alex Coffey, and this is where it just kicks off coming down the backstreet.
Yeah, I mean, all hell was kind of breaking loose from the start-finish line, but it really got crazy down the back straight here. Top 5 cars were racing for it. Yeah, you can just see kind of a bad block there for the 14. Takes out the 81 and everybody else, and it's FABRICATION, the only car through to get it done.
And Barry Sanders almost went up and over there as Nigel Christensen takes it home in that third spot, or excuse me, in that second spot, and Brandon Bikey takes it home in the third spot. What a finish. I mean, you could not get much better than that for the class.
No, you can't. Chaos to the line, and we're going to take you to a quick commercial break as we work on getting these drivers up to the booth for some interviews.
And we welcome you back here to Daytona International Speedway, where we just had a crazy finish to end off the clash here at Daytona, where Brandon FABRICATION somehow survives all the last lap chaos in order to take home the clash win. Your top 3 going to be Brandon FABRICATION, Nigel Christensen, and Brandon Bikey. And we're sitting alongside with your third place finisher of Brandon Bikey. Brandon, how did you manage to get third place out of that?
I have no idea. I mean, just luck. I guess the guys up there got in a little trouble with each other, and I just had some teammates helping me, and I was able to sneak up through there a little bit. So it was all luck, but we were having a good time there.
All luck or somehow just divine intervention. You managed to come home with third place in the clash. Does this give you confidence heading into the duels and the 300?
No, not really. I didn't quite where my gearing was at. So I guess it's good for that because it was a good test race to test some stuff out. So I don't like where my current setup is at gearing wise, but there's only a few options. So I'm going to make a change and hopefully it'll be better for the duels next week and the 500 the week after.
Well, congratulations on P3 here in the Clash, and hopefully you're able to get those setup issues figured out in time for the duels. In the meantime, any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, first and foremost, Tim Wortman Jr. He lost a family member just recently, so this race was for him. And he's a great friend of ours, and he's a great guy, great to race with. So I just want to shout out to him, and all the people that support me. But first and foremost, and only for this race, I just kind of want to give him the props, and we're all here with him, for him, anytime he needs something. So just appreciate him being a good friend, a good racer.
Well, congratulations on the P3 there, Brandon. Hopefully, maybe one or two better there in the duels and or the 300.
Thank you, guys.
That was Brandon Bikey, your third place finisher. Now standing alongside your second place finisher is Kai Schreiber.
Yeah, Nigel, you got a copy?
I got you.
I'm sure you thought you were out of it there at the end until it all went down in front of you and you were able to sneak through to get second. Walk me through that last set of corners there.
Yeah, definitely. I was just accepting that I was going to finish 7th, lost the draft, and was just hoping that they'd wreck, and sure enough they did. And honestly, I just kept it pinned to the bottom and then went to the start finish line. So, and it was just the Feder place in front of me. So I was like, I'll take second after all that. So
yeah, coming up after this, we've got the duels, and then following that up, the Daytona 300. Does this finish give you any momentum both going into those races and then for the rest of the season after that?
It's hard to say momentum in racetracks like this because, you can have incidents like we saw today on the very first couple of laps. So it's hard to say that, but it definitely gives us confidence. We as a team have a really good super speedway package, and we have a lot of confidence that we can win these races as a dig esport. So in terms of confidence, yeah, we definitely feel really good about where we're at, and obviously it's a good confidence booster for me as well.
All right, well, anyone you want to thank or shout out tonight?
Yeah, man, I want to thank VANLILYS Stickers for being on the vehicle. I want to thank Harpies, Simrap Market, COORIDOR, Tilly's, and Op Access. Man, it's we're not able to do this without those guys, so we're really thankful for that. And then I want to thank my dad for watching. He watches all of these races, so it means a lot. And then everybody at Dig, we've been working really hard the last week or so to get ready for this and get ready for the next couple of weeks. So, and thanks to you guys as well.
All right, congrats on second place tonight, Nigel Christensen.
Thank you.
And while we're talking to him, I believe Nick has caught back up with our winner tonight, Brandon Federplace.
Brandon Federplace, from going as the last one to qualify for the Clash to winning the whole thing, somehow surviving the chaos of that last lap as the only one from that lead pack to even make it to the finish. How did you do that?
I don't know. I mean, I think if you all know, let me know, because I have no idea. That was pretty wild there at the end.
I called it 0 to hero, basically, as you were technically the last person to qualify for this race. So I'm going to call it divine intervention. I'm not too sure how you were able to not only survive that last lap chaos, especially with everything going on as soon as y'all took the white flag, but managing to win the whole thing. What does this do for your confidence levels heading into for at least the duels and the Daytona 300 here in a couple weeks?
Oh, it's definitely huge. I mean, I had very little confidence since practice. iRacing had an update, and a lot of our setups are just not feeling right. So, I wasn't feeling too confident, and especially after the LCQ coming in, last to make it in, I thought, oh man, this is not looking good. But it all seemed to work out there in the end. I mean, my whole plan was to push Barry. I was going to push him to the win. He was, obviously he's the team owner, and I thought, hey, I'm just going to shove him straight to the front. And he ended up getting into it rough there. And I couldn't turn down as fast as he could, so I just went up high. And I just kind of squinted and tensed up because I thought for sure they were coming back up the track and going to send me over over into the grandstands, but somehow, some way.
Now, you mentioned some of the setups maybe not working as well here tonight with the update. We were talking about that a couple of times about how much slower compared to what we're used to seeing the Cup cars are. Kind of talk about how that caused a little bit of chaos, maybe, especially there at the start, and kind of what did you do to get used to just the slower speeds in general and not being able to generate as many good runs?
It was just, the cars are much slower in the draft now. They are way more aero dependent. They seem more sluggish. They're just not as they don't really get up. You have a 3-car, the bubble car just isn't, the third car just isn't as powerful as it used to be. It doesn't feel like so. You really needed to manage your runs. You needed to not always take every single run you got. So, moving forward, I just thought, well, I'm just going to stay in the pack. At least that way I won't lose the pack. I won't be out there by myself. And we'll just see where this ends up. And I think a lot of people had that plan tonight, was just to kind of be in the pack, because it was so easy to lose the pack if you got out. So I wasn't looking to be aggressive to jump out there to the outside lane, because I didn't, as I seen in the heat in the LCQ, if no one goes with you, you're going straight to the back. There was nothing you could do about it.
Well, heading into next week for the duels, and especially the week after for the Daytona 300, who do you got to shout out? Who's going to get it done for you?
Well, of course, Team Aero. We're going to get it
Short,
done.
sweet. Short, sweet, and to the point for Brandon Fetterplace there. Congratulations on winning the Clash here tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And with that, that is our post-race show done here on VSPEED. But we're going to, heading to next week, next Wednesday actually, is going to be the Daytona Duels here for the Moonshiners Racing League. And that is going to be a fun one. But before we get to that, any final thoughts, Scott?
I think we had a great race tonight. I mean, especially this main event was awesome. That finish was just a classic kind of Daytona finish. I had a great time tonight.
Yeah, I definitely did as well, but definitely tune in next week, February 12th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, to catch the Moonshiners Racing League as they take on the Daytona Duels to set the field for the Daytona 300 the week after. But for everyone here at VSPEED, that is going to do it for us in the booth. Sky Shrek, myself, Nick Stein, and Sean in the production booth. That is going to do it here tonight from Daytona International Speedway. We will catch you next week for the duel.